Welcome everyone to the Bear Cryptids Iceberg Explained. Today we'll be looking into the world of mysterious bear sightings across the world. Tier 1. Nandi Bear. The Nandi bear is located mostly in western Kenya in East Africa. It's often described as a shaggy, slope-backed animal similar to a hyena, but the reports about its appearance and behavior vary. Over time, the term Nandi bear has been used to describe many creatures, such as baboon-like Kodolo, the Shivuver, and other animals like the giant forest hyena. This could be a result of mixed reports about known animals and unknown creatures. Descriptions of the Nandi bear are usually similar though. It's described as a large, powerful animal with a sloping back. Its size is usually compared to that of a lion, and it stands between 4 and 5 feet tall at the shoulder. It has a large head, short rounded ears, and strong jaws. Its snout appears like a bear's, and its tail is short and tough. Its fur also ranges from colors like reddish brown to dark brown, with thick fur on the front half of its body and legs, while the back half is more smooth. The first documented sighting happened in 1905 during the Nandi expedition. Geoffrey Williams reported seeing a bear-like animal sitting near Surgoit Rock. Before he could act, the creature moved away in a sideways shuffle. This report wasn't published until 1912, when sightings of the Nandi bear became more known during the construction of the Magadi Railway. There was another sighting in 1913 by G.W. Hicks and described as a tawny, shaggy creature with a broad body and sloping back. Now, throughout the 20th century, there were more reports which had claims of attacks. In 1914, a Nandi bear was blamed for killing a young girl in a Kenyan village. During the hunt for the creature, colonial administrator William Hitchens described hearing its howl before it dragged off his dog. He also found clawed tracks. There were similar reports describing man-eating incidents and attacks on livestock, which could be connected to this bear. There were later sightings that occurred on the Chimomi Tea Estate in the 1950s, where Douglas Houghton, who reportedly shot 2 large hyena-like animals. These animals had sloping backs, heavy manes, and broad heads. They were sent to a museum in Nairobi, and they were labeled as giant forest hyenas. In the 1960s, there were reports of similar creatures, and one of the last confirmed sightings happened in 1998 when a large, shaggy bear-like hyena was seen near the Nandi escarpment. Alaskan giant polar bear. The Alaskan giant polar bear is described as a large white bear which is much larger than a Kodiak brown bear. The white fur and presence of hair on the pads of its feet distinguish it from other bear species. One woman from Kodiak Island vividly recalled her father killing one of these massive bears. She emphasized that it was entirely different from the Kodiak bears which were common to the region. Sightings of this bear go beyond Alaska though. There have been reports surfacing in Greenland, Alberta, and Quebec. In Alberta, there's a couple riding a gondola in winter and claimed to have seen an enormous white bear with 2 heads, which is a highly unusual description. In Quebec, a French woman who was relaxing in a restaurant said she saw a giant white mass of fur running down a hill. But despite these sightings, expeditions to locate these creatures have led to no definitive evidence. There were sightings of these massive bears reported in London as well, which are far beyond Arctic and subarctic habitats. There's one account that describes a giant polar bear invading a subway train, while another claims one was seen plunging into a small city creek. There are some theories that say these giant polar bears could be remnants of a prehistoric species known as the Pleistocene polar bear. This bear is believed to be over 11 inches taller than the modern polar bear. If this species did survive until modern times, it could explain the reports of unusually large polar bears in various regions. Atlas bear. The Atlas bear is an extinct subspecies of brown bear and was native to the Atlas Mountains and nearby regions in northern Africa. It was the only bear species to inhabit Africa during modern times. The bear's extinction in the 1870s led to the end of its known existence, but there are reports of sightings that have continued to emerge. This bear was known for its sturdy and powerful build and being shorter than the American black bear, but more robust. It had long, blackish-brown fur with reddish-orange underparts. Its claws and muzzle were short and made it different from other bear species. The Atlas bear was large, around 9 feet long, and weighing around 1,000 pounds. It was an omnivore, so it fed on roots, acorns, nuts, and sometimes small mammals. The species faced impact as the Roman Empire expanded into North Africa. Many Atlas bears were hunted for sport or captured to fight in Roman arenas. This reduced their population, with isolated groups persisting until the late 19th century. The last recorded Atlas bear was killed in the Tetouan Mountains of Morocco in 1870. Witnesses have occasionally described animals resembling the Atlas bear. There has been no physical evidence to confirm these claims. Some of these reports are linked to other creatures like the Nandi bear. In the 1950s, Atlas bears were reportedly sighted by a local woman harvesting olives in Kabylie, Algeria. Another alleged sighting was in Tismsult, Algeria in 2016, but it was later debunked when the creature was identified as a stripped hyena caught in a trap. Bergman bear. The Bergman bear is a likely extinct subspecies of the brown bear and was said to inhabit Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. It was first identified in 1920 by Swedish zoologist Sten Bergman. Bergman said it was a separate subspecies after examining a hide with fur different from that of other bears in the region, as well as footprints measuring an enormous 14.5 by 10 inches. These tracks were significantly larger than those of the already massive Kamchatka brown bear, which is one of the largest bear species we know of. Natives refer to the bear as the Erkuium, which is inspired by the appearance of the bear's hind legs. In the 1960s, hunter Rodion Sivobolov gathered accounts from locals about this animal. These stories describe the bear larger than any other known in the area and distinct enough to suggest it might not be a typical brown bear from the area. Biologist N.K. Vereshchagin suggested that this bear could be a relict population of Arctodus simus, which is a giant short-faced bear that went extinct thousands of years ago. This prehistoric bear stood over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and could reach up to 15 feet on its hind legs. However, there is skepticism around this theory, since it had long, slender legs, unlike the baggy pants appearance associated with the Erkuium. Also, some have said that the Cold War indirectly supported the population's survival by restricting human access to the region, which let the bears in remote areas thrive. The possibility of unusually large bears surviving in nearby Alaska has also been linked to the Bergman's bear. An ice bridge which occasionally forms between Alaska and Russia in winter could allow animal migration. Reports of massive bears in Alaska, including record-breaking grizzlies, could explain the large bears migrating between regions. For example, the Boone and Crockett Club recorded the second largest grizzly skull in the world, which was found in Alaska in 2013, with a size a little over 27 inches. McFarlane bear. The McFarlane's bear is an allegedly extinct bear species associated with Canada's Northwest Territories. In 1864, Inuit hunters apparently killed a large bear with unusual yellowish fur. They provided its skin and skull to naturalist Robert McFarlane, who sent them to the Smithsonian Institution. Many years later, Dr. Clinton Hart Merriam rediscovered the species and identified them as distinct from known brown bears. In 1918, he classified the bear as a new species and genus, naming it Vetularctos inopinatus, which means ancient unexpected bear. This specimen remains the only physical evidence of the bear. There is no confirmed sightings or additional specimens that have been found since then, and this makes many believe it went extinct. There are theories about its origin, such as a grizzly polar bear hybrid, as its pale fur and unusual skull traits align with known hybrids. Others think it could be a surviving member of a Pleistocene bear species, but there's no evidence that has presented itself to support this claim. Modern DNA analysis or skull morphology studies could potentially resolve the mystery, but these tests haven't been conducted yet. There is one theory with credibility due to more documentation of grizzly polar bear hybrids. These hybrids share characteristics like pale fur and distinct skull shapes, which resemble a description of the McFarlane bear. In 1984, zoologist E. Raymond Hall reclassified Merriam's extensive taxonomy and reducing 96 proposed species of brown bears to just 9 subspecies under Ursus arctos. After this, Vetularctos inopinatus was synonymous with Ursus arctos horribilis, which is a common grizzly bear. Here too, Kyushu bear. The Kyushu bear is from Kyushu, Japan, where the native bear population has been considered extinct since the last confirmed capture in 1987. Despite this though, there have been unofficial records of bear sightings in the region. One of the sightings occurred on October 17, 2015, when a man and woman reported seeing a bear-like animal running near the summit of Mount Sefuri, which is located between Saga and Fukuoka prefectures. They described the creature as being around 1 meter long in length. The following day, a male climber also observed a similarly described animal standing upright approximately 2 kilometers from the same summit. Mo. The Mo is from northern Burma in China's Yunnan province, described in the Treatise on the Nanman Southwestern Barbarians, which is a volume in the Book of the Later Han. The mo is described as a bear-like creature roughly the size of a donkey with pale fur. It was said to be a powerful animal capable of knocking objects down by lifting its forelimbs, which is a feature that sets it apart from typical bears. Its unique description led to speculation about its possible identity. David C. Zhu proposed that the mo could have been a chilecotherium, which is a group of prehistoric ungulates that lived approximately 46 to 1 million years ago. This animal was thought to resemble a cross between a bear and a horse, with long forelimbs used to grasping branches. The genus Nestoritherium, which is one of the most recent calycthers, is known from the Pleistocene formations in Burma and existed around 2 to 1 million years ago, placing it in a plausible timeline where these accounts would make sense. He also suggested a connection to the Eomorphidae family, which is a group related to the calycthers that lived around 55 to 43 million years ago. These smaller creatures share some characteristics with their larger relatives, and fossil evidence has been found in both areas that are closely tied to the mo's reported range. Shenanigans white bear. This bear is known locally as Baijiang and is reported from the mountain forests of southeastern Hubei province in China. Sometime before 1960, the existence of this bear was based only on rumors. However, there are 4 individuals that eventually captured and displayed one in Chinese zoos. It's thought to be a variant of a brown bear, but its description closely resembles the Kermode bear, which is a white-furred subspecies of a black bear found in British Columbia. Both these bears are reported to inhabit forested mountains where such creatures could remain hidden. The value placed on bears by local populations has threatened their survival. In a small village in western China, a bear paw was once found in a drugstore and believed to have been transported through the ancient Silk Road. The paw was sold for $16, meaning the whole bear could go over $100, which is a large amount of money for the local economy. This demonstrates the economic significance to hunt these animals, which could lead to a decline in their population. Habitat destruction and human interference has also been an increased risk to bears. Fragmented habitats isolate these populations and reduce their genetic diversity and threaten their ability to survive long term. Even with large protected regions, such as the Yellowstone ecosystem, genetic diversity remains a significant concern. In smaller fragmented habitats, like those in Shenanigans, the challenges are even larger. Isolated populations would have to deal with risks like inbreeding and reduced adaptability, which make them even more vulnerable. Human-bear conflicts are also a problem, since issues like damage to crops, livestock predation, and competition over resources like orchards and beehives. Habitat encroachment also limits their ability to roam and find food, and increases the likelihood of these conflicts. Golden moon bear. The moon bear is native to Asia and is a distinct species thought to be only distantly related to the American black bear. In Asia, there is a moon bear, which is a distinct species thought to be only distantly related to the American black bear. However, the discovery of a golden variation of the moon bear has challenged assumptions about its classifications. In the 2002 book, The Search for the Golden Moon Bear is a book by Cy Montgomery published in 2002 which explores this mystery. Traveling to Southeast Asia, she wanted to uncover whether the golden bird variation could represent a new species or subspecies. Her journey brought her to the heart of the moon bear's native habitat, but instead of finding answers, she encountered mistreatment of the bears. Many of them were kept in cages, starved, or exploited for their paws and organs, which are prized in traditional medicine and cuisine. She wrote a narrative that combines folklore, natural history, and scientific inquiry to show a glimpse into the challenges that are faced by these bears. The golden moon bear stands apart due to its unique color, but its status is uncertain. It could just be a color variation of the moon bear, a distinct subspecies, or a completely different species in general. Scientists have been cautious about making definitive claims since there have been past discoveries of supposed new species based on color phases but were disproven. In many cases, animals with different color phases have been found in the same litter or across overlapping habitats, which show that coloration alone isn't enough for a separate classification. In order to be a subspecies, an animal shouldn't just have physical differences from the main species, but also a different, distinct population in a unique habitat. The golden moon bear has still yet to demonstrate this level of distinction since its range and habitat aren't fully understood yet. Whether the golden moon bear classifies as a new species altogether has still yet to meet a In order for the golden moon bear to be a new species in general, it has even stricter criteria to meet. There are traditional methods of classification which rely on whether two animals could interbreed and produce fertile offspring, with fertility showing they belong to the same species. There are many animals like lions and tigers that can produce hybrids like ligers in captivity, but despite being clearly separate species in the wild. Also, polar bears, grizzlies, black bears, and European brown bears are also capable of producing fertile offspring with one another. Pygmy brown bear. The pygmy brown bear is linked to sightings in the Yanachaga-Chimilian National Park, which is in the Pasco department of Peru. Descriptions of these bears come from park rangers who claim to have encountered them on multiple occasions. They describe the animals as small, with brown fur, and distinct from the region's known bear species. In specific, one report mentions a young bear that was allegedly being raised by a local resident. Encounters suggest that the pygmy brown bear might represent a unique and undocumented bear population, but its identity remains unsure. The idea that these bears could be simply undersized examples of the speculated bear, Termarctos ornatus, has been suggested. The bear is South America's only recognized bear species and is well documented. However, park rangers familiar with this bear have insisted the small brown bears they encountered did not resemble the species at all. Their observations suggest physical and behavioral differences which are significant to set both of them apart. This discrepancy has led some to question whether the pygmy brown bear could be an entirely separate bear type, distinct both from speculated bears and other known species. Carl Marsh presented a theory that the pygmy brown bear might represent a tropical variety of the brown bear, which is absent from South America. He pointed out a biological trend where animals living in tropical forests often exhibit smaller body sizes compared to their temperate relatives. This concept comes from ecological adaptation, which might explain the reduced size reported in these Peruvian bears. If this is true, it would imply a previously unrecorded population of brown bears which are uniquely suited to the tropical forest environment. This will lead to a question about how such a population could have survived and been undetected for so long. Adams hedgehog bear. The hedgehog bear has a single reported sighting from the mountainous region of southern Oregon in the United States. This account comes from John Grizzly Adams, who is a mountain man known for his encounters with wildlife during the 19th century. He shared his story with his biographer, Theodore H. Hittel, describing an encounter near Upper Klamath Lake with an animal he found so unusual that he referred to it as one of the nondescript wonders of the Pacific coast. He said that the creature resembled a hedgehog but had the head and feet of a bear. Although his description was vague, he admitted he couldn't provide further details and that him and his party were unable to capture the animal. The lack of physical evidence and the brief nature of the account leads a lot of speculation. Its strange appearance, with its trait of two distinct animals, leads to a lot of questions about its identity and whether it could be a known species showing a rare or unusual condition. Matthew A. Bill suggested that the hedgehog bear story is brief and straightforward enough to be considered credible, unlike other reports that are pretty exaggerated. He theorized that the creature may have been a bear suffering from a rare skin condition that caused its fur to appear spiky, giving it a hedgehog-like appearance. This interpretation aligns with the possibility of natural explanations, but does little to confirm what Adams actually encountered. Booger bears. Booger bears, which are also known as bulldog bears, are reported in the United States and Canada. They are described as large animals with features that combine traits of bears, cats, and gorillas. Sightings occur in mountainous regions, swamps, and even along rivers and even in isolated areas at times. Reports describe them as having cat-like faces, strong builds, and fur that resembles lions or gorillas. Some accounts say they have glowing eyes and that their nature is different from the behavior of many known bear species. Reports say that they resemble an unknown grizzly bear from the high plains of North America, which is described as a predator of bison. This animal is thought to have disappeared when the bison populations declined. In Kentucky in 1967, there was an animal reported stealing cattle, was shot and identified as a large bear weighing around 650 pounds. Witnesses noted its unusual features, such as a cat-like face, which differed from other bears in the region. In 1995, there was a hunter near the Canadian border in Michigan who said he saw an unidentified animal. He described it as a mix of polar bear, Arctic wolf, ape, and big cat. The creature had white fur, a flat face, and ridges on its body. It moved in a way that resembled cats, but despite being shot at, it fled without injury. It is thought that booger bears may be living short-faced bears, which are a species that have gone extinct thousands of years ago. Tier 3. Yampom Hog Bear. The Yampom hog bear is related closely in appearance to black and brown bears, but the hog bear is distinguished by its sharply pointed muzzle and its curled fur. The Northern California countryside during the late 19th century was ideal for pig farming, with the region's economy heavily relying on pork production. The landscape featured many oak trees which dropped sweet acorns that served as the hog's primary food source. Over the course of the season, as acorns were ripening higher up the mountains, pigs would slowly go up and consume them. By late December, the pigs had grown very fat from the food and almost became immobile, which made them very vulnerable. This is when the Yampom hog bear would appear, taking advantage of defenseless livestock. The bear's hunting style was described as bizarre and frustrating to farmers. Instead of consuming the hogs entirely, the bear would take a single bite from each pig and causing them to bleed out and die. This method didn't only result to significant loss of livestock, but also frustration amongst local farmers who found their herds destroyed with little benefit to the predator. There's one account from Eugene S. Bruce, who was an employee of the Forestry Services. Bruce was said to have captured a cub which he later donated to the National Zoo in Washington for study. However, there are no official records of this creature that remain. Red Mountain Bear. There are reports that describe a bear inhabiting the lower stretches of the Andes and is noted by its reddish-colored fur. It's distinct from the typical bear that South Americans recognize. There are some theories that suggest this bear might represent a color variation with a spectacled bear population, since variations occur occasionally in known species. However, its appearance and location led others to think of a more ancient lineage. There's a hypothesis that states this reddish bear could be a descendant of the short-faced bears, an extinct group known for its massive size and unusual cranial structure. Murung River Bear. The Murung River bear is reportedly found along the Kendeng Murung River in eastern Borneo. This bear was first documented by explorer Leonard Clark, who provided vivid descriptions of its behavior and characteristics. According to him, the bear was large and a forest-dwelling species that appeared in significant numbers along the riverbanks once a year. These gatherings were said to coincide with the ripening of river berries, which seemed to be a primary food source for the bears during this time. Unlike many other bear species though, the Murung River bear was described as an aggressive and formidable creature. It was capable of swimming and is noted for attacking boats traveling along the river. His reports also stated that these bears would claw humans to death. Their ability to thrive in dense forests and go through aquatic environments shows a high level of adaptability that makes them well suited to Borneo's ecosystems. Uya Koher. The Uya Koher is also known as the naked bear and comes from folklore from the Tuscarora Nation and the Haudenosaunee Confederacy. It's described as a large, bear-like animal and nearly hairless body. Stories claim that the naked bears were hunted to extinction many years ago. According to the Haudenosaunee, naked bears were exterminated around the 17th century due to their threat to human populations. One story says there was one naked bear that terrorized the woods, preying on hunters and instilling fear throughout the region. This creature was eventually killed through a coordinated effort in which hunters stationed themselves on a high rock, lured the bear close, and attacked it with arrows and stones. After severing the bear's head, the hunters brought it back to the village where it was displayed as a trophy. There were also neighboring tribes, including the Mohicans, that also claimed to the feat of slaying the beast. The creature was said to have a long, broad body with a massive head. It had short, thick legs and ended in widely spread paws with claws as long as human fingers. Its body was mostly hairless, except for patches of fur down its hind legs, and it had a very loud roar. The naked bear was very dangerous and responsible for killing many Native Americans, particularly women and children that worked outdoors. However, its predation went beyond humans, since it would eat livestock, bears, and other animals. The Tuscarora legacy, recorded by J.N.B. Hewitt, describes the bear as either a giant bear-like creature or a mammoth-like being, which provides possibility that these stories were influenced by ancient memories of creatures like ground sloths or early megafauna. Kupugiak. The Kupugiak is also known as Kogogiak and is described as a 10-legged polar bear. This creature is said to inhabit Arctic regions where it's rumored to attack Inuit villages like a typical polar bear. However, what sets it apart is its reported multiple pair of legs. It's described as resembling a polar bear but with many more limbs. Its carnivorous nature aligns with the behavior of real polar bears and is known to be apex predators in their frigid environments. However, the idea of a 10-legged polar bear raises many questions about its plausibility. There's one theory that says sightings of Kupkugiak could come from hallucinations due to extreme Arctic conditions, isolation, which can distort perception. Another possibility is that observers may have mistaken a group of polar bears, such as a mother and her cubs traveling closely together, for a single multi-limbed bear. There are genetic anomalies that could provide an explanation too. It is conceivable that rare deformities could lead to a polar bear with additional limbs. Tier 4. Bear dogs. Bear dogs are extinct creatures that weren't closely related to bears or dogs, regardless of their name. These animals were part of the suborder California and exhibited physical traits that seemed to blend the features of bears and dogs, which made an unusual hybrid-like appearance. They were once a diverse group with numerous species, but bear dogs eventually declined and disappeared. Fossils suggest that they vanished from the New World around 2 million years ago, while the most recent Old World fossils date to about 10,000 years ago. However, some evidence shows there's a possibility that bear dogs may have survived in isolated and remote regions since there are sightings from icy valleys between Canada and Alaska. Blue-headed black bear. The blue-headed black bear is reported from British Columbia and is described as a black bear with an unusual blue head. The sighting came from a driver who observed the animal on the side of a highway. Apart from its coloration, the bear appeared to have the typical features of a normal black bear. This sighting led to many theories about the cause of its color. One explanation states the bear might have come into contact with cobalt blue paint by sticking its head into a container of paint or being hit with paintballs. However, the uniformity of the color brings up doubt on these ideas. There's another suggestion that the sighting might have just been fabricated as a part of a hoax. One plausible theory states a genetic condition known as partial melanism. Melanism is the development of an excess of the dark pigment melanin in the skin or fur. In some cases, partial melanism can lead to unusual colors like cobalt blue. Milne. The Milne is reported from the Peruvian Amazon and is known from only a single sighting by explorer Leonard Clark in 1946. This sighting occurred along the Ucayali River in eastern Peru, where he observed an unusual bear-like creature that defied any classification known to South American fauna. His description portrayed the Milne as a massive black bear, which is both insectivorous and semi-aquatic. His encounter began when he discovered footprints on the riverbank measuring 14 inches in length. These prints were strikingly human-like and resembled those of a giant man. The following day, while floating down the river with his party, he witnessed the source of these tracks, a colossal black bear clawing apart a rotten tree stump to feed on ants and larvae. According to Clark, the bear was called Milne by the Kampa people of the region. He said that the creature was distinct from the spectacled bear as the only officially recognized bear species native to South America. The Kampa people also described another bear in the lower eastern Andes, which was believed to be red in color and it might be related to the Macarena bear. Clark's first-hand account detailed the bear's reaction to the rafts drifting downriver. It was initially startled by the sound of a paddle striking the water, so the bear jumped into the river and swam directly toward Clark's raft. Describing the encounter as breathtaking, he said that his party abandoned the raft as the bear approached aggressively. It was only 3 feet away till Clark used his Colt pistol to fire a single shot to kill it instantly. However, before he could retrieve the carcass, a swarm of black pana fish, which is a ferocious aquatic species known for their aggressive behavior, came up and forced Clark to release the bear's paw and abandon the specimen. Jim Halfpenny dismissed the spectacled bear as a candidate due to its size and distinct facial markings, which don't match Clark's description. Carl Schucker noted the coincidental connection between the bear's name Milne and A. Milne, who is the creator of Winnie the Pooh. However, Dale Adrianen said that the name is more likely derived from an Arawakan linguistic root pronounced as Milne or Milne. He also proposed the possibility that it could have been a surviving short-faced bear. Beast of bears. The beast of bears is reported from southern Texas, Florida, Virginia, and potentially Arkansas as well. It's described as a large bear-like creature and is distinct due to its scarred appearance and patches of missing fur. It's often associated with swampy and forested areas. It is said to emit a strong and unpleasant odor. A unique feature of this bear is its allegedly large red eyes, which some compare to those of the Mothman. This detail, combined with its proximity to marshy habitats, has led some to think that the creature may possess gills, letting it navigate and survive in aquatic environments. The first reported sighting of the beast of bears occurred on October 12, 1973, when photographer Philip Hyde encountered the creature at a camping site near Alice, Texas. This sighting led to 31 other reports, and the most recent of those took place on May 1, 2012, in a backyard near Crestview, Florida. Sightings often describe the creature wandering through marshlands or dense forests. Although most of the reports come from the United States, there is some evidence hinting at the creature's presence in Canada as well. There's a drawing that suggests similar creatures may inhabit northern regions, which may link it to Inuit folklore. Pig-faced bear kaiju. The pig-faced bear kaiju is reportedly sighted in Kami-Hetsugi, Oita Prefecture, Japan. This creature's unusual appearance and a single documented encounter make it pretty intriguing. It's described as having a head resembling that of a pig, while its limbs are distinctly bear-like. The sighting occurred in 1988 when a truck driver accidentally struck the creature while driving along a road in Kametsugi. Although it was alive right after the collision, the next day it was found deceased. This brief observation provided the primary details about its strange physical attributes, but there are no further reports or evidence to confirm its existence. The identity of the pig-faced bear kaiju remains uncertain, but there are some explanations that suggest it could have been a bear suffering from a skin disease. This condition might have distorted the creature's appearance, giving it the unusual pig-like features. The possibility that it was indeed a bear is considered plausible since few animals in Japan share limb structures similar to bears. Northern giant. The northern giant is described as an enormous bear reportedly seen near Fairbanks, Alaska. This creature is noted for its large size, which is almost 14 to 15 feet tall at the shoulder. Its golden fur and massive paws also add to its imposing appearance. There are theories about the northern giant's identity, but they vary widely. Some suggest it could be a relic population of short-faced bears, which were massive predators that roamed North America in the Pleistocene epoch. Others think that the northern giant bear could be an unusually large individual of the Kodiak brown bear, which is one of the largest bear species in the world and native to Alaska. Grizzly bears are also considered a possibility since they share the region and are known for their large size and strength. Accounts of the northern giant bear emphasize its physical dominance and how rare it is. Its golden fur sets it apart from any other bear species in the area, and its size exceeds the largest known bears on record. Tibetan white bear. The Tibetan white bear is reported from isolated areas of the Tibetan Himalayas. It's described as a bear with white fur, which draws comparisons to the polar bear. However, polar bears inhabiting the Himalayan region is pretty implausible because of the vast difference in the ecosystems. Philippe Caudray proposed that the Tibetan white bear might be a variant of the brown bear with a genetic condition like albinism, or another mutation that changes its color. Caudray also suggested that the Tibetan white bear might exhibit similarities to the Kermode bear, which is also known as the spirit bear, a subspecies of the American black bear. Kermode bears occasionally produce individuals with white fur because of a recessive genetic trait. If this white bear is indeed a form of brown bear, it could represent a similar case of genetic variation with an established species rather than a completely new bear species. I hope you enjoyed watching, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Welcome everyone to the Snake Cryptids Iceberg Explained. Today we'll be looking into the world of mysterious snake cryptids and sightings across the world. Tier 1. Congo Snake. In 1959, Colonel Remy van Lierde, who was a pilot in the Belgian Royal Air Force, was flying a routine helicopter patrol over the Katanga region of the Congo. He had flown more than 400 missions, so he was used to noticing details on the ground. But during this flight, him and his co-pilot saw something very unexpected. It was a snake so large that he estimated it to be over 50 feet long. If his estimate was correct, the snake would have been far larger than any known living species. Today, the largest snakes include the green anaconda and the reticulated python. Green anacondas are known for their bulk and usually grow to around 15 feet, but some even grow longer. Reticulated pythons are the longest snakes that can stretch over 20 feet. By comparison, Van Leeuwenhoek's snake would have been more than double the length of these modern giants. In a 1980 interview for the British TV show Mysterious World, he shared more details about the sighting. He said that as his helicopter passed over the snake, it lifted part of his body nearly 10 feet into the air. He believed that if he flew closer, the snake might have attacked. He also thought it was large enough to easily eat a human if it got close enough. Van Leeuwenhoek guessed that the snake's head was about 2 feet wide, which is much larger than any head of a modern snake. For comparison, even the largest green anaconda would have a mid-body diameter of just over 1 foot. The African rock python, which is the biggest snake in the Congo region, can grow up to 20 feet in rare cases. However, even that is so much smaller than the snake Van Leeuwenhoek described. To support his claim, he took a photograph of the snake. The photo, although is blurry, shows what looks like a large snake lying around vegetation. However, the exact size of the snake is unclear because the surrounding landscape makes it hard to identify. Some people think the shapes around the snake might be bushes or grass. Others have suggested that dark shapes could be termite mounds, which are common in the Katanga region and can grow really large. Ivan Sanderson studied the photograph and he suggested that the snake could have been longer than what Van Leeuwenhoek had thought, potentially almost 200 feet long. Sanderson believed that the dark shapes in the photo were termite mounds, which can grow almost 26 feet tall and more than 50 feet wide. Based on this, he thought that the snake must have been enormous. Despite these claims though, scientists haven't found any evidence of a snake that's this large. Sukuniku. The Sukuniku is from the mountainous areas of western Japan. It is often said to live in dark, watery caves in regions like Shikoku and Honshu. People claim you might hear signs of its presence, such as mice-like squeals near rivers or even human-like voices mimicking conversations from deep within caves. Sukuniku are described as being 30 to 80 centimeters long. It is said to look like a very fat snake with its middle much wider than its head and tail. Its body is covered with large, plate-like scales. Like many snakes, it's reported to have fangs and venom too. Some stories say the Sukuniku can jump up to a meter and even perform a second jump when it's midair. Others describe it as swallowing its tail and rolling like a wheel, similar to the hoop snake. Sightings of the Sukuniku have been reported for many years, and belief in its existence is pretty strong in some parts of Japan. Every May 3rd, the Sukuniku festival is held in Higashihirakawa, Gifu Prefecture, where locals trace the roots of the legend. During this festival, people search for the creature and a prize of $11,000 is offered to anyone who captures it. The government of Yoshi, Okayama, once announced a reward of 20 million yen, which is $200,000, for its capture. There have been many reported encounters with the Sukuniku over the years. In June 1994, a man named Kazuaki Noda and his wife claimed they had saw a large snake with a body as thick as a beer bottle and a head similar to a tortoise's. On May 8, 2000, there was a farmer named Shugi Tanaka who reported seeing two snakes with metallic colored bodies and tails like rats. Later that year in June, there was a woman named Mitsuku Arima and she said she saw a Sukuniku swimming in a river. She described it as having a round face with large floating eyes that stared directly at her. She remembered asking, "Who are you?" but the creature just stared silently. Arima, who was over 80 years old at the time, said she had never seen anything like it in her life. There's also one unusual story that involves a farmer who saw a Sukuniku while cutting grass. He described it as having a face like Doraemon, which is a famous Japanese cartoon character. He claimed to have injured it with his weed whacker, but the creature escaped. A few days later, there was an elderly woman who found its dead body near a stream and buried it without realizing its importance. When local authorities heard about this, they dug up the body and sent it to a university for study. There was a professor who examined it and said it might have been a Sukuniku, but concluded that it was scientifically just some type of snake. Over the years, people have found other bodies and shed skins, but most of these are turned out to belong to already known snake species. There are a few theories about what people may actually be seeing. Some think that most Sukuniku sightings are cases of mistaken identity, where ordinary snakes that recently ate and developed a bulge in their middle were misidentified. Others think the creature might actually be a blue-tongued skink, which is a type of lizard sometimes kept as a pet in Japan. However, this theory doesn't fully explain sightings that occurred before the skinks were introduced to Japan in the 1970s, when they were still rare. Lastly, some people believe Sukuniku might just be an entirely new species of snake. Yakumama. The Yakumama is a giant snake-like creature believed to inhabit the Amazon River basin. It is described as being up to 60 meters long and reverenced among the communities living near rivers. According to local shamans, the Yakumama is associated with a site known as the Boiling River. The creature is considered the mother of all marine life and possesses an extraordinary ability to draw in any living thing within a distance of 100 paces. To avoid unknowingly entering its territories, locals blow on a conch horn before approaching the river. This is said to cause the Yakumama to reveal itself if it is nearby, providing a warning to those who might be in danger. Stories of encounters with the Yakumama have been passed down for many generations. There's one notable account from the 1900s involving two men who attempted to kill the creature by placing an explosive in the river. After the explosion, there was a massive snake reportedly covered in blood emerging from the water. Despite its injuries, the creature swam away, leaving the men terrified. Theories about the Yakumama's identity often involve comparisons to known or extinct species. Some think that the creature could be a living example of a titanoboa, which is a prehistoric snake that lived around 60 million years ago. Fossil evidence shows that the titanoboa could grow to about 12 meters long. However, some researchers believe it might have been reached even longer lengths. Grootslang. The grootslang is said to inhabit South Africa's Orange River. It's described as a giant snake-like creature, and reports of sightings often involve large serpents like the African rock python, which is the continent's biggest snake. Some researchers, like Bernard Heuvelmans, compared the grootslang to a long-necked sea serpent, which he classified as Megalotauria longicollis. Early accounts of the grootslang go back to the travels of Sir Edward James Alexander in the 1830s. He heard stories from the locals about a massive snake that left a track a foot wide in the sand and had a coiled body as large as a wagon wheel. People believe the creature's appearance at the river mouth was a sign of good rainfall. He also heard tales of strange cries coming from the river, similar to those of children. There is one story that a creature was said to have emerged from the water and eaten a newborn calf. Explorer Frederick Carthers Hornell recorded similar stories in the Richardsveld region near where the Fish and Orange rivers meet. The Khoikhoi people believed in the grootslang, and some claim to have seen its enormous trail, which is described as over 4 feet wide. Reports from a missionary, Father Wolf, told of a giant snake preying on livestock, but his attempts to find the creature were unsuccessful. J.L.B. Smith, who's an ichthyologist, also heard stories of giant snakes in the Orange River during his childhood. Sightings of the grootslang go back many decades. In the 1860s, Hans Sawyer, which was a young boy at the time, said he saw a large black snake swimming in the Orange River. His father and a neighbor attempted to follow it in a rowboat, however the creature disappeared among rocks. Later in 1899, trader G.A. Kinnear described a massive snake coming up briefly from the river near Uppington. Its head measured 7 to 8 inches wide and its visible body was around 8 to 10 feet long. In 1910, an American traveler named Camayer reported seeing a huge snake-like creature drag a calf into the river near the Augerbees Falls while camping with Cornell. There was another prospector, Ernest Hayes, who claimed to have seen the grootslang in 1929 from a distance of 300 yards at the confluence of the Goinia and Orange Rivers. Namibian flying snake. The Namibian flying snake is described as an enormous snake varying in color from yellow and brown with light spots to solid black. Its reported lengths range from 9 to 25 feet and is said to have the ability to blend into its surroundings with camouflage. The snake has a few unusual features such as bioluminescent crest, horns, and a neck that can expand. It also has leathery bat-like wings with a wingspan of 30 feet, letting it fly for certain amounts of time. Witnesses claim it makes a loud, terrifying roar and has a tar-like odor and scales covering its body. In order to take flight, it's said to launch itself down large hills. The Namibian flying snake has been sighted primarily in the Karas region of Namibia. One of the earliest recorded encounters was in 1942 when Michael Esterhuis, who was a shepherd tending to sheep on a farm 60 kilometers west of Keetmanshoop, reported seeing a massive snake hurling down a mountain. He claimed to have encountered the creature on 2 other occasions as well. Later in the 1950s, there was another incident reported near Guegib. A group of farmers and missionaries discovered 7 dead sheep, each having 2 puncture wounds consistent with snake bites. Oddly, there were soot-like patches found on the surrounding ground and on the wool of the sheep, suggesting the presence of an unusual animal. In 1978, there was a French farmer in the Caris region who also detailed an account with the creature. While tending to his cattle, he witnessed a bright white light heading toward him. A few moments later, he heard a loud thud followed by the pained cries of one of his cows. When he investigated, he saw a massive snake-like creature and described it to local police as resembling a dragon. The farmer noted its bright, blinding crest of light, brown and yellow coloration, and green eyes. He also stated that there was a strong tar-like smell and observed smoke coming from its nostrils. Tier 2. Hoop Snake. The hoop snake is a creature from North America and is said to inhabit regions around Wisconsin, Minnesota, and parts of Canada. This creature is described as moving in a unique way by biting the end of its tail, forming its body into a circular hoop. In this form, the hoop snake is said to roll at very fast speeds, striking with a venomous stinger located at the tip of its tail. Its venom is described as deadly and is said that only a tree can provide protection. A tactic for escaping the creature involves jumping through a hoop, which is said to confuse it and stop its attack. One of the first references to the hoop snake goes back to 1784 in a letter that describes its peculiar movement. According to this letter, while the snake can crawl like other serpents, it adopts the hoop shape when chasing prey, using the stinger at the center of the hoop as its primary weapon. The writer says that this form of movement is reserved for attacks, while the snake goes back to crawling on its belly when retreating from danger. Because of this unusual movement, it was given the name hoop snake. It is said to have a girth of about 7 inches, and its head has features like fangs, hollow black eyes, and tiny nostrils, while its body is marked with alternating black and white rings. The venom from its stinger is described as purple and highly toxic, with warnings against using its stinger to carve due to its potency. Changshi. Changshi is a large serpent from ancient Chinese bestiaries. These texts described it as an enormous, snake-like creature said to measure around 800 feet in length. Its massive body was covered in scales, with bristles protruding between them. The Changshi was believed to inhabit the Greater Unity Mountain. There is one account that describes the sound it makes being similar to the noise of a watchman's clapper, which is a rhythmic, hollow sound that's commonly used in ancient times to mark hours or warn anyone of danger. Ancient civilizations often feared serpents and attributed them to great power, wisdom, or danger. There are explanations for the origin of the Shang-Chi, which often point to the possibility of ancient encounters with large snakes. Fossil records have showed evidence of massive prehistoric serpents, like the Titanoboa, which lived around 60 million years ago. The Titanoboa was the largest known snake in history and reached up to 40 feet in length and weighed over a ton. Its size and nature suggests that ancient humans or early society might have encountered similar large reptiles, leading to stories of giant serpents like the Shang-Chi. In regions where ancient people had little scientific understanding of the creatures around them, any sighting of a large snake could have led to strange stories. Over time, these reports grew in scale and detail, with the snake's size and abilities becoming more exaggerated. Changshi, although has incredible size, bristling scales, and haunting sounds, probably originated from a blend of real encounters and imagination of ancient people. It's also possible that the Changshi, like other giant snakes, served a cultural or symbolic purpose. Such stories may have been used to explain natural phenomena like the movement of rivers or a rumbling of earthquakes, which could be attributed to a massive serpent stirring underground or in the mountains. Macansi. The macansi is a giant aquatic snake said to inhabit the Amazon region of Ecuador. It's known for its large size and is often compared to the anaconda, which is one of the largest snakes in the world. However, this snake may pass the anaconda in size and also predatory capabilities. This large snake is said to prey on both humans and animals, making it quite dangerous to the region's inhabitants. In addition to the macansi, there is another creature in the same area called the awansi. Unlike the macanchi, which is aquatic and associated with rivers and swamps, the ewanchi is described as a terrestrial snake living on land but exhibiting similar massive portions and predatory behavior. Theories about the origins of the macanchi and iwansi often link them to prehistoric snakes. Titanoboa, which is a massive serpent and lived a long time ago, is usually mentioned as a possible ancestor. It was a dominant predator in its ecosystem and was able to prey on large animals. Some cryptozoologists speculate that the macanchi and iwanchi could be descendants of this ancient species or represent a relict population that survived in isolated parts of the Amazon. The dense, remote rainforests of the Amazon provide an ideal setting for the survival of undiscovered species. Given the region's vastness and the many areas that remain unexplored, it's not exactly impossible for creatures like these snakes to exist by going undetected from scientific documentation. Reports of giant snakes in the Amazon, including the macanchi, have persisted for generations. Nabao. The nabao is a giant snake said to measure over 100 feet in length, with a body as thick as a drum. It's described as a python-like serpent, which is far larger and more powerful than any known species of snake. The nabao has been sighted in various locations across Sarawak, including Stambak, Ulu, Lee and Bitong, and also Balay River near Kapit. One of the most well-known accounts occurred in 2009 when a member of the Disaster Relief Committee, Cebu, was monitoring flood conditions in Ulu, Rajang in a helicopter. While flying over a tributary of the Balay River at around 5:30 p.m., he spotted what appeared to be an enormous snake moving through the water. Cebu managed to capture photographs of the creature from the helicopter, which later added to discussions and speculation about the existence of large snakes in the region. The Iban community also tell the story of the Tumengagong Ko, which is the father of Datuk Kent Kanyan, who was a respected Iban leader during the regime. After his death in the 1950s, it was said that the Tenegong Ko transformed into a Nabu and appeared in people's dreams. Algerian Hairy Viper. The Algerian Hairy Viper is from North Africa and reported only once in January 1852 near the village of Draria, Algeria. This creature was described as a 2-foot-long snake covered in thick brownish red hair. The only recorded sighting came when villagers walked through a forest near Draria, noticed what appeared to be hair growing around the trunk of a tree. When they looked closer, the hair began to move, revealing itself as a hairy snake going down the trunk. The villagers watched as the snake hissed at them before vanishing into the undergrowth. This encounter left the villagers surprised, as nothing like it had ever been seen before in the region. The story of the Algerian Hairy Viper was noticed by the Museum of Natural History in Paris. A team of researchers traveled to Algeria to find the snake and adding it to the museum's collection, but despite their efforts, there was no trace of the creature. There are a few theories regarding the nature of the Algerian Hairy Viper. Some cryptozoologists suggest that it could have been an undiscovered species of snake with hair-like structures on its body. Others think it might not have been a snake at all, but instead a giant hairy caterpillar due to its size and appearance of hair. Lastly, a theory says that what the villagers saw wasn't one large organism, but a tightly grouped cluster of hairy caterpillars which could resemble a moving hairy snake. There's also a more conventional explanation, suggesting that the creature could have been a stoat or a weasel, which are slender, long-bodied mammals native to Algeria. Stoats, when crouched low to the ground and move quickly, could be mistaken for a snake covered in fur, especially due to dim light of a forest. North African giant snake. Gigantophis garstini is an extinct species of snake from the family of Madozoids. Fossil evidence, including vertebrae and jawbone fragments, were found in North Africa in areas such as Mali and Egypt, with discoveries dating back to 1903 and 1993. Based on these fossils, researchers estimate that the snake measured between 11.7 and 18 meters long. This snake lived during the Eocene epoch, which was around 40 to 35 million years ago, when the landscape of North Africa was quite different from the arid savannas that we know today. The fossil sites suggest the region was once covered in dense rainforests, swamps, and coastal wetlands, which provided an ideal habitat for a snake of such a large size. Gigantophis likely led a semi-aquatic lifestyle, using water to support its large body, which is similar to the modern-day green anacondas. Scientists have noted that a snake of this size would struggle to move efficiently on just land, which suggests it relied on aquatic environments. It is also thought to have been a predator capable of hunting large prey such as proboscideans, which are ancestors of elephants. These ancient animals were comparable in size to today's rhinoceroses, making them challenging but rewarding targets for a snake of such a size. Some researchers have speculated that Gigantophis might have survived into more recent periods, possibly as late as 10,000 years ago during the Holocene epoch. This would possibly mean that the species had an extended evolutionary timeline, giving it ample opportunity to adapt and potentially grow even larger under favorable conditions. However, there's no conclusive evidence to support this theory. The discovery of other large prehistoric snakes, like the aquatic Paleophis species from Paleocene, northern Africa, shows the diversity of ancient serpents in the region. These snakes, which thrived in coastal marshlands, help the idea that many ancient snakes were specialized for specific ecological spaces, which helps our understanding of their adaptations and behavior. Modern reports of giant snakes continue to emerge from regions of Africa, including Senegal, Guinea, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda. Witnesses describe seeing snakes ranging from 15 to 20 meters long, with occasional claims of even larger specimens going past 30 meters. With these accounts remaining unverified, they still add to possibilities of enormous snakes surviving in remote areas. Now, determining the true size and biology of Gigantophis is troubling due to the limited fossil records. Tier 4. Crowing Crested Cobra. The crowing crested cobra is reported from Central Africa, specifically from Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Malawi. This snake is unique because of its alleged ability to produce rooster-like crowing sounds and the presence of crests or wattles on its head. While sightings of snakes making crowing noises are pretty frequent, reports of snakes with both vocal and physical features resembling those of a rooster are pretty rare. Similar snakes have also been reported in the Caribbean, China, and Polynesia, where the latter is known as Vivimi gata, but it lacks the crested feature. The earliest mention of a crowing snake comes from David Livingstone's journals, published in the Last Journals of David Livingstone, 1874. Livingstone described two distinct types of snakes, one of which was well authenticated to produce a sound resembling the crowing of a young rooster. His servant Abdullah Susi mentioned a large, venomous snake known locally as bubu, which had red, wattle-like markings and could attack entire caravans by striking from tree branches. Susi claimed that the creature could be killed by boiling water, which it would dive into when attempting to strike. Missionary Bishop Chauncey Maples also wrote about the snake in an 1881 letter. He described a 12-foot-long mamba-like serpent with a crest resembling a rooster's comb, said to pursue and attack humans. Locals in Nyasaland, which is now Malawi, feared the snake so much that they abandoned paths near its territory. Reports of the crowing crested cobra came into the 20th century. In 1922, there are accounts from Rhodesia which describe the snake in local newspapers, and herpetologist Arthur Loveridge later traveled to East Africa in search of it. By the 1940s, the snake became a topic in African and British media. For instance, locals attributed a man's death in Namwala to a Nyukanga, which is a giant red-throated snake known for its crowing call. Around the same time as this, there were debates about the possibility of vocalizing snakes which appeared in the Times of London. Some experts dismissed the idea, while others thought it could be plausible. Later in 1959, a settler in Zimbabwe, John Knott, claimed to have run over a crested snake in his car. He described the snake as black, 6 feet long, with a tortoise-like head and a distinct, symmetrical crest on its neck. After the incident, local people identified the creature as a crowing snake. There are theories about the crowing crested cobra, but they vary widely. Some think it could be a misidentified black mamba, which is one of the most venomous snakes in Africa, which sometimes fails to shed its skin properly and creates the appearance of a crest. Others point to horned vipers like the rhinoceros viper or Gabon viper, which have similar head features. Also, some reports of crowing snakes may have come from animals such as tree hyraxes or birds mistaken for snakes because of their distinctive vocalizations. Mboi jaguar. The Mboi jaguar is from Paraguay and is widely reported across the region. It's described as a massive aquatic creature and is said to measure between 20 and 30 meters long. In 1911, Alexander K. MacDonald reported the Mboi jaguar and said it has a head resembling that of a dog's, a hooked tail used to capture prey, and emits a yelping sound similar to those of a puppy. MacDonald recounted a story of an Indian being attacked by one while crossing a river in Kaguazu. He said that the sightings of the Maboy Jaguar were reported in the Great Laguna Ibera in Corrientes, which are various parts of Paraguay, and the Riachos, which are streams of the Chaco region. Local communities, including indigenous people, Peruvians, and the residents of Corrientes, consistently described the creature with similarities and emphasized its distinctive appearance and behaviors. Charles W. T. Craig documented a similar creature in the Gran Chaco, describing it as a slug-like snake with a body as broad as a horse, a dog-like head, and a stumpy tail with a venomous barb. Cryptozoologist Bernard Heuvelmans speculated that reports of the Maboy Jaguar might come from sightings of the Manguryu, which is a giant catfish that locals claim can grow up to 18 feet long. This theory suggests that descriptions of the Manguryu alongside other elements may have led to tales of the Maboy Jaguar. In February 1972, there were reports of a Peruvian barking snake, which captured by government surveyors in the jungle and displayed it at Asuncion Botanical and Zoological Garden. It is widely believed that the captured animal was a pregnant green anaconda, whose unusual appearance may have been misinterpreted and sensationalized by journalists. This misidentification likely led to the dog-headed snake incident. Lau. The Lau is from the White Nile region in present-day South Sudan and is described as a massive, serpentine creature with unique features such as barbels and a crest. Stories about the Lau have been told by various groups in the area, including the Nuer, Dinka, and Shilluk peoples. While it is often compared to a giant snake, some think it may be a type of enormous catfish. Others link the Lau to the Lukwada, which is a similar creature reported found in Lake Victoria. The Lau was first documented in 1923 by Henry Cecil Jackson, who mentioned rumors of a third type of python in the Nuer region, alongside the two known African rock python species. Jackson doubted its existence, but noted that locals referred to it as nyal, the same term which is used for regular pythons. His reports described a creature that could grow up to 40 feet long. Naturalist John Guile Melius later gathered more detailed accounts, including reports of the Lau's distinctive rumbling sound during the rainy season, which locals believed signified its presence in the marshes. Captain William Hitchens also investigated the Lau and collected stories from hunters and locals, some of whom claimed the creature could use its tentacle-like facial features to ensnare prey. Another significant contributor to the Lau's existence was Thomas Richard Hornby Owen, who described the Lau as a deeply mythologized entity. According to the Owen, the Dinka referred to the creature as a punishing spirit, attributing to it the power to kill with a single glance. Locals believed the Lau dwelled in calm, deep waters surrounded by marsh vegetation, and that it left distinct trails on land during the dry season. Now, descriptions of the Lau vary, with some accounts claiming it could reach lengths of 100 feet, while others describe smaller specimens of around 12 feet. Its coloration is said to range from light brown to dark yellow. Reports often include unique physical features like a crest resembling that of a crowned crane or tentacle-like appendages used for capturing prey. Also, the creature was said to have a sharp, bony projection on its underside. The Lau was believed to inhabit marshes and wetlands such as the Sud and Bahr el Arab. The Nuer associated the creature with danger and regarded its bones as powerful talismans. In 1914, there was a large specimen which was allegedly killed by Shilluk hunters, and some of its bones were sent to the British Museum, but there was no conclusive identification made. Another piece of physical evidence was a wooden carving of the Lau's head, which Captain Hitchens obtained from a Tanzanian sculptor who claimed to have seen the creature. Sachamama. The Sachamama is reported from the Peruvian Amazon. It's described as a massive, snake-like creature and unique in its appearance since it has a shell-like structure on its back and prominent horns. When this creature awakens, it is said to be capable of inhaling prey from a distance, though its movement is hindered by a large, heavy shell and prevents it from pursuing prey through the jungle. Descriptions of the Sachamama vary slightly among the witnesses. Maximo Inaquari, who was a villager from Nueva Tacna, described it as a large, black, cylindrical creature that left a massive trench approximately 1,600 feet long and 30 feet wide in its path. Luis Iluma, which is another eyewitness, provided more details, saying the creature was 131 to 132 feet in length and 15 to 16 feet in diameter. According to Aluma, its snake-like body had a shell in the middle and also a muzzle, 2 trunk-like appendages, and a large ear-like structure measuring 3 feet each. Historical evidence of the Sachamama shows up in ancient Peruvian artifacts. Pottery from the Mochi culture, which dates back over 1500 years ago, depicts large, snake-like creatures with tentacle-like appendages and shells. Similar imagery was also documented in 16th century Peruvian pottery, showing forked tongues and feelers which resembled those described in modern accounts. One of the most notable sightings occurred in August 14, 1997, near the village of Nueva Tacna. Witnesses reported hearing a loud rumbling from the jungle, as if a large, heavy creature was moving through it. Inuakari, who was on a boat in the nearby Napo River, claimed to have seen the creature emerge from the jungle, leaving behind a wide trench and felling numerous trees before entering the river. When it reached the water, it apparently created a whirlpool that sank many boats. While Inuakari reported seeing only its dark, snake-like form, Aluma, who viewed it against the setting sun, saw its shell and other distinguishing features. Photographs of the destruction caused by the creature were taken, and the incident was significant enough for the local military to investigate this. Explanations for the Sachamama range from natural phenomena to cryptozoological theories. Some suggest that the destruction might have been caused by heavy construction machinery, but local officials dismissed this, saying that the area was inaccessible. Other theories propose that the damage could have been resulted from flooding, strong winds, or even an earthquake, but the selective nature of the path and the lack of reported wind dismisses these possibilities. Peruvian scientist Nixon Reguifa initially thought the incident was from flooding, but later reconsidered after examining the evidence. A cryptozoologist known as Carl Schucker proposed that the Sachamama might not have been a snake, but instead a giant mollusk or an unknown species of long-necked turtle, since it had a shell and tentacle-like features. He argued that these physical characteristics suggest a creature unrelated to any known serpentine species. This aligns with local descriptions that emphasize its unique anatomy and pretty strange behavior. Tier 4. Nguma Moneni. The Nguma Moneni is reported from the Republic of the Congo's Motaba River and parts of eastern Cameroon. Descriptions consistently portray it as a massive serpentine creature measuring between 30 and 40 feet in length and 2 to 3 feet in diameter. It's said to have a snake-like head and neck with a forked tongue that flicks in and out and a serrated ridge running along its back. Its short legs and low-slung body give it a crocodilian or lizard-like appearance. The Nguma Moneni's skin is described as grayish-brown, blending well with its swampy environment. The Yoli of Cameroon is often linked to the Nguma Moneni. It is similarly described as a snake-like creature but with limbs large enough to rise above the tallest trees. The Yoli reportedly moves quickly through the water and swamps and feeds on birds and monkeys. Some accounts say the Yoli can generate an electric current, such as the electric catfish, which are native to the Congo Basin. The Baka people fear the creature but have said to kill specimens using spears and dogs. One of the earliest reported sightings came from 1961 when the eldest sister of Mitchell Zabatu, who was the first Secretary of General Assembly, encountered the Nguma Moneni while bathing in a river. She described a large snake-like head and neck emerging about 15 meters from her. Her cries alerted nearby villagers, who watched as the creature flicked its forked tongue and moved through the water. Another sighting took place in 1971 when missionary Joseph Ellis observed a 30-foot-long serpentine creature with a serrated back while paddling down the Motaba River. He watched it swim across the river before disappearing into the tall grass on the opposite bank, never raising its body far off the ground. Now, cryptozoologist Roy P. Mackle studied this cryptid and ruled out the possibility of it being an oversized crocodile, noting the witnesses were familiar with crocodiles and clearly distinguished the creature based on its tongue and ridged back. Mackle proposed that the Nguma Moneni was likely a snake. Since no known snake species has a serrated ridge, he concluded that it could be a type of lizard. While monitors are Africa's largest known lizards, they lack ridged backs and don't reach the reported size of the Nguma Moneni. He thinks that the creature might be a modern descendant of Dolichosaurs, which are a group of primitive, semi-aquatic lizards with elongated bodies and short limbs. Badigui. The Badigui in Banda is from Broch Ochu and Gunda rivers in the Central African Republic, with possible sightings from Equatorial Guinea. According to accounts from Lucien Blancu, the Badigui is a smooth-skinned, hairless creature and described as a gigantic snake with tracks measuring 3 to 5 feet wide. Its flat snake-like head is slightly larger than that of a python and has a long neck which is quite thick and extends much farther than a giraffe's. The creature's skin reportedly has snake-like markings with a lighter underside. The badigui is said to be dangerous, with reports of it killing hippopotamuses by strangling it and leaving no external injuries. It is also believed to feed on tree branches by raising its head out of the water to browse on leaves. No torso of it has ever been described, and its body is thought to remain submerged. In 1934, an elderly Baya man named Musa stated an encounter with the badigui when he was around 14 years old, which is an event Blanco estimated around 1890. Musa claimed to have seen the creature lifting its head to eat the leaves of a roro tree while him and his father were laying fish traps during the rainy season. There's another account from 1928 which describes a badigui crushed a manioc field which belonged to the Linda Banda chief, leaving behind large tracks. Around the same time, the creature apparently killed a hippopotamus in the Brochochu River near Chief Mapuka's village, and the villagers consumed the carcass. Bianco's gun-bearer, Mitikata, also reported seeing tracks around 1930. Bernard Heuvelmans proposed that the badigui probably has a bulky, hidden torso beneath the water, as a snake would not be able to lift its head so far without coiling its body for support. He also found that the badigui's reported diet of tree leaves was pretty unusual, saying that no known snake is herbivorous. Roy P. Mackle also found that the dietary claim was implausible and speculated that the badigui might be linked to other creatures such as the Naguma moneni or lau, which he theorized could be giant ridgebacked monitor lizards. Bathir. The Bathir is described as a snake-like being, and its length is reported from 10 to 20 feet. Some accounts include distinctive features like an ear-like structure on its head and a head that makes up about 10% of its total length. The first known sighting of a Bathir occurred in the 1930s near Loch a Mahulid, where a 3-meter-long creature was seen moving onto the shore. On September 30, 1965, around 11:30 p.m., Maureen Ford and a friend were driving along the A85 near the River Tay when they encountered a strange, gray legless creature with a long body and an ear-like protrusion on its head. Around an hour and a half later, around 1 a.m. on October 1st, another individual, Robert Swanky, spotted a similar creature along the same road. Swanky estimated its length to be around 20 feet, with a head measuring around 2 feet. He described its body as humped and resembled a caterpillar in shape. Later on in 1975, 5 fishermen reported seeing a Bathir upstream of the falls of Kilmarnock. The creature was startled by their presence and apparently stretched out and swam across the gorge Beaufort Castle before disappearing. Sukuriju Gigante. The Sukuriju Gigante, which is also known as the giant anaconda, is a serpent that inhabited the rivers of South America. Some speculate that the Sukuriju Gigante might be a descendant of prehistoric snakes like Gigantophis garstini, which reached 33 feet in length during the Eocene, or Titanoboa, which is a colossal snake from 50 to 60 million years ago that grew up to 43 feet long. Although modern anacondas are typically 20 to 30 feet long, there are numerous accounts that suggest much larger specimens may exist. One of the most famous encounters with a possible Sukuriju Gigante comes from Lieutenant Colonel Percy Harrison Fawcett, who was a very well-known English explorer. During his expeditions in the Amazon, Fawcett reported encountering a massive snake along the Rio Negro. As his boat drifted downstream, he observed a triangular head and several feet of undulating body near the water surface. Grabbing his rifle, he fired a .44 caliber soft-nosed bullet into the snake's spine, which was roughly 10 feet behind its head. The creature thrashed violently and sent heavy impacts against the boat's keel and frothing the water around it. Despite the danger, Fawcett convinced his frightened crew to steer ashore, where they cautiously approached the injured snake. He estimated the anaconda's total length at 62 feet, with 45 feet of its body visible on land and another 17 feet submerged in the water. Its body was only 12 inches in diameter and seemed emaciated because of starvation. Despite his attempt to take a piece of the snake's skin, its sudden spasms forced him and his crew to retreat. His encounter wasn't the only one of a giant anaconda though. Earlier, he had heard from a manager at Yorngas about an anaconda measuring 58 feet killed in the lower Amazon. Members of the Brazilian Boundary Commission also spoke of a snake over 80 feet long, which was allegedly killed in the Rio Paraguay. Fawcett said that local tribes and rubber pickers frequently described colossal anacondas, with some trails and swamps measuring up to 6 feet wide. Another notable sighting comes from 1846 when George Gardner saw a 33-foot-long dead anaconda in Brazil. In 1922, Father Victor Hines claimed to witness a nearly 80-foot-long snake near Oboidos on the Amazon shores. Hines later reported another sighting in 1929 near the Rio Piaba, where two glowing lights, believed to be the snake's eyes, and appeared on the water surface. Similar reports came from trader Raimondo Zima in João Penha in 1930, with the latter witnessing a snake that pushed 900 feet of submerged debris. In 1948, a newspaper in Pernambuco published a photo of an anaconda said to be 131 feet long, but the size was not verified. In 1947, painter Serge Bonacas claimed to have seen a sucuriju in the swampy area between the Rio Manso and Rio Cristalino. With 20 other witnesses present, he estimated the snake's length to be around 70 feet long. Botanist Grace Rebelo dos Santos provided a more recent account in 1995, saying there were glowing lights in the water and large, heavy objects snagging fish nets, which could be another sign of a giant anaconda. Giant Snake of Amagaki. The giant snake of Amagaki is said to originate from Nishi Ward, Nagoyo City in Aichi Prefecture, Japan. In January 1555, Mata Zemon had an encounter near the pond known as Amagaik. He described seeing a massive black snake lying on the pond's bank. The creature's body was very thick and its head resembled that of a deer. Its eyes were bright and it had a large red tongue. While the snake initially faced the pond, it turned to look at Mata Zemon, who was startled and ran away. The story of this giant snake caught the attention of someone by the name of Oda Nobunaga. Intrigued by the tale, he ordered the pond to be drained in an attempt to capture the creature. When the majority of the water was gone, he even entered the pond himself to conduct a search. But despite these efforts, there was no trace of this creature found. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Welcome to our journey through the cryptid iceberg, where we'll dive into the depths of the lesser-known creatures and mysterious beings. From obscure local legends to baffling sightings, we'll explore the shadowy world of cryptids that lurk just beneath the surface of mainstream knowledge. Prepare yourself to uncover the secrets and tales of the unknown. Now before we begin, make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps out the channel, and let me know what you guys thought about the video. Tier 1. Champ. Champ, also known as Champy, is a cryptid reported to inhabit Lake Champlain, a large freshwater lake that straddles the border between New York, Vermont, and Quebec. Stories of Champ date back to indigenous Abenaki and Iroquois tribes, who spoke of a giant water serpent in the lake. The first recorded sighting by European settlers occurred in 1609, when French explorer Samuel de Champlain reportedly described a creature in the lake that was 20 feet long with a horse-shaped head and a body as thick as a barrel. However, some historians believe this account was misinterpreted from Champlin's observations of garfish, which have elongated bodies and sharp teeth. Over the centuries, numerous sightings of Champ have been reported, often describing a large, serpentine creature with humps protruding from the water. One notable encounter occurred in 1819, when a Captain Crumb claimed to see a black monster in the lake, 187 feet long with a head resembling a seahorse, and eyes the color of peeled onions. In the 20th century, the legend gained renewed attention with multiple reported sightings. In 1977, Sandra Mancy captured one of the most famous photographs of Champ, showing a dark object in the water that many believe to be the creature's head and neck. This photo has been analyzed extensively, yet no definitive conclusion has been reached about its authenticity. Encounters often include not just visual sightings but also strange noises and unexplained movements in the lake. For example, in 1993, a group of fishermen reported seeing a large creature swimming near their boat, describing it as having a long neck and grayish skin. Another interesting case is from the 1980s, when a local sheriff allegedly saw a series of humps moving through the water while patrolling the shoreline. Some researchers suggest that Champ could be a surviving species of plesiosaur or another prehistoric marine reptile, although there is no scientific evidence to support this theory. Cactus cat. The cactus cat is a peculiar cryptid reported primarily in the American Southwest. especially in the deserts of Arizona and New Mexico. This unique creature is often described as a bobcat-like animal with thorny fur, a spiked tail, and a penchant for the sap of cacti, which it supposedly ferments into a type of alcoholic beverage. Unlike many other cryptids, the origins of the cactus cat are deeply rooted in folklore passed down by cowboys and early settlers in the region. These stories often portray the creature as a nocturnal and elusive being, with sightings mostly occurring during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. According to various accounts, the cactus cat would use its spiny tail to splash open cacti, allowing the sap to ferment. It would then return to drink the liquid, leading to tales of the creature appearing intoxicated and more aggressive than usual. Encounters often include reports of eerie wailing sounds at night, which some believe are the cries of the cactus cat. One such story involves a rancher who heard these strange cries and followed them to find his cattle mutilated and strange claw marks on nearby cacti. Another less known tale describes a prospector who claimed to have been attacked by a cactus cat while camping near a water source. He described the creature as having glowing eyes and a terrifying yowl that paralyzed him with fear. After his attack, he found the remnants of slashed cacti and the strong smell of fermenting cactus sap, which led him to believe that the creature was real. In addition to these encounters, some local legends suggest that the cactus cat's existence is tied to the health of the desert ecosystem, with its presence indicating a balance between natural and supernatural forces. This cryptid also has been linked to Native American folklore, where it is sometimes seen as the guardian of the desert, ensuring that resources are used wisely. The cactus cat's elusive nature and the scarcity of physical evidence have kept it largely in the realm of legend, but the vivid and often frightening stories continue to intrigue those interested in cryptids and the mysteries of the desert. Sukuniku. The Sukuniku is a cryptid from Japanese folklore, often described as a snake-like creature with a plump central body and narrower head and tail. Unlike ordinary snakes, the Sukuniku is said to have a wider midsection, making it appear almost bottle-shaped. This creature is reported to inhabit remote mountainous regions of Japan, with tales of its existence dating back centuries. The Sukuniku is also known by other names such as Bachihebi in different regions. According to traditional stories, the Sukuniku can jump great distances and sometimes even roll like a hoop to escape predators or move quickly. Encounters with the Sukuniku often involve claims of its unique vocalizations, which some say include chirping or squeaking noises. One of the more intriguing aspects of the Sukuniku legend is its supposed ability to mimic human speech, although in a limited fashion. Stories sometimes describe the creature as mischievous, with a penchant for playing tricks on unsuspecting travelers. In some accounts, the Sukuniku is also believed to possess venom, making it potentially dangerous if provoked. A notable modern sighting occurred in the early 2000s when a local television station in Yoshi, Okayama Prefecture, offered a reward for the capture of a live Sukuniku. This sparked a wave of enthusiasm, with many people claiming to have seen the elusive creature. Despite numerous searches and reported sightings, no concrete evidence was found. However, these efforts did bring significant attention to the legend, cementing its place in contemporary Japanese culture. The Sukuniku's unique characteristics and elusive nature have made it a subject of fascination and speculation. Some cryptozoologists suggest it could be based on misidentified sightings of known animals, such as certain types of snakes with unusual body shapes or behaviors. Others believe it might be a completely undiscovered species, given the remote and often inaccessible regions where sightings are reported. Billy ape. The billy ape, also known as the Bondo mystery ape, is a cryptid reported to inhabit the remote forests of the Democratic Republic of Congo. This large primate is said to possess characteristics of both chimpanzees and gorillas, making it an intriguing subject for cryptozoologists and primatologists alike. Stories of the billy ape emerge from local tales and sporadic reports by researchers and explorers. The billy ape is described as larger than common chimpanzees, with some individuals reportedly standing up to 6 feet tall. They are said to have a broad chest, a crest similar to that of a gorilla, and a distinctive howl that echoes through the dense forest. Encounters with the billy ape often involve observations of unusual nests and ground nests more akin to those of gorillas, rather than the tree nests typically built by chimpanzees. In the early 2000s, researchers documented footprints larger than those of any known chimpanzee, adding to the speculation about the existence of this unique primate. Local hunters have also reported sightings describing the billy ape as highly aggressive and capable of hunting large prey, including leopards. One of the most significant expeditions took place in 2003 when a team led by primatologist Shelley Williams ventured into the Billy Forest. The team reported sightings of large apes that displayed both chimpanzee-like and gorilla-like behaviors. They observed the apes using tools, hunting, and displaying social structures distinct from other known primate groups. Hair samples and fecal matter were collected, and subsequent genetic analysis confirmed they were indeed a unique population of chimpanzees, yet distinct in size and behavior. Further studies revealed that the Billy apes possess a distinct DNA sequence, suggesting a unique evolutionary path. Despite these findings, the dense and often dangerous terrain of their habitat has limited extensive research. This, combined with political instability in the region, has made continuous study challenging. Mongolian deathworm. The Mongolian deathworm, known locally as Ologoi krokoi, is a cryptid said to inhabit the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. Described as a large worm-like creature, it is typically reported to be between 2 to 5 feet long and bright red in color. The Mongolian deathworm is reputed to have the ability to spit venom or acid and is believed to generate lethal electric shocks, making it a fearsome creature in local folklore. Stories of the deathworm have been part of Mongolian oral tradition for generations, with nomadic tribes recounting encounters and warnings about the creature. Encounters often describe the Mongolian deathworm appearing during the hottest months of the year, emerging from the sand to attack livestock and occasionally humans. One notable story involves a geologist who claimed to have witnessed the deathworm from a distance, observing a camel with what appeared to be an electric shock before disappearing back into the sand. Another tale tells of a group of explorers who reportedly saw the creature while on an expedition but were unable to capture it, leaving only their detailed descriptions of its appearance and deadly abilities. Despite numerous expeditions by both locals and foreign researchers, concrete evidence of the Mongolian deathworm remains elusive. In the early 20th century, Western explorers, inspired by tales from Mongolian nomads, began to search for the creature. Roy Chapman Andrews, an American explorer and naturalist, conducted extensive fieldwork in the Gobi Desert but found no physical evidence of the deathworm. His skepticism was echoed by other researchers who ventured into the harsh desert environment, often returning with intriguing stories but no definitive proof. Some researchers suggest that the Mongolian deathworm could be a misidentified species of snake or other desert-dwelling animal. Others theorize that the stories may be rooted in the dangers of the desert environment itself, with the deathworm serving as a symbolic representation of the deadly threats posed by the harsh landscape. Modern interest in the cryptid has been fueled by documentaries and television shows, which have brought the stories of the Mongolian deathworm to a wider audience. Tier 2. Wollaton Park Gnomes. The Wollaton Park Gnomes are a group of cryptid-like creatures reported in Wollaton Park, Nottingham, England. The most famous encounter occurred in September 1979 when a group of school children claimed to have seen these gnomes while playing in the park. The children described the gnomes as small, humanoid beings dressed in old-fashioned clothing, similar to traditional depictions of garden gnomes. They were reported to be about 2 feet tall, with long white beards and pointed hats. According to the children's accounts, the gnomes were driving tiny cars, which added a peculiar and whimsical detail to the sighting. The children, ranging in age from 8 to 10, recounted seeing the gnomes for several minutes, describing them as friendly and playful. The gnomes reportedly waved at the children and seemed to be engaging in some sort of game or activity. Despite the fantastical nature of the story, the children were adamant about what they had witnessed. They provided consistent descriptions and drew detailed pictures of the gnomes in their vehicles. This incident is not the only report of gnome sightings in Wollaton Park. There have been sporadic accounts over the years from various individuals who claim to have seen similar small humanoid figures in the park. These sightings have contributed to the local folklore, with some speculating that the park might be home to a hidden community of gnomes or other mythical beings. Explanations for the Wollaton Park gnomes range from hallucinations or collective imagination to the possibility of misidentifications of known animals or objects. Skeptics often point to the age of the witnesses and the potential for suggestibility among children as factors that could explain the 1979 sighting. However, the detailed nature of the children's accounts and the persistence of similar stories over time keep the curiosity alive. Monopod. The monopod, also known as a skypod, is a creature from medieval and ancient European mythology, often described as a humanoid being with a single, large foot extending from one leg. This unique cryptid has its origins in Greek and Roman texts, where writers like Pliny the Elder, Herodotus mention them in their accounts of exotic lands. According to these texts, monopods were believed to inhabit distant, unexplored regions, particularly in India and Ethiopia. The creature's single enormous foot was said to serve multiple purposes. It allowed the monopod to hop great distances and provide shade when the creature would lay on its back, using the foot as a sunshield. One of the earliest references to monopods is found in the writings of Ctesias, a Greek physician and historian who served in the Persian court. His descriptions of the monopods, based on accounts from travelers and local informants, contributed to the mystique surrounding these beings. Medieval bestiaries, which were collections of descriptions of real and mythical animals, also included the monopod, often depicting it with a singular, exaggeratedly large foot. Encounters with the monopods are sparse and primarily anecdotal, rooted in the fantastical tales of explorers and merchants. In one story, St. Augustine mentioned them in his work, City of God, questioning the veracity of such beings while pondering their place in the natural world. Another account comes from the voyages of Sir John Manville, a 14th century English knight who claimed to have seen monopods during his travels. Manville's writings, though widely regarded as fictional or heavily embellished, played a significant role in popularizing the idea of the monopod in Europe. Despite the lack of physical evidence, the monopod captured the imaginations of people in medieval Europe, symbolizing the wonders and terrors of the unknown world. Some modern interpretations suggest that these tales could have been inspired by sightings of unusual human deformities or misinterpretations of local myths and animals. Others believe the monopod serves as a metaphor for the extraordinary and unexplored, reflecting the curiosity and fear of early travelers encountering new and strange lands. Encantado. The encantado is a cryptid from Brazilian folklore described as a shape-shifting dolphin or serpent that can transform into a human. Often associated with the Amazon River, the encantado is believed to be a boto or Amazon River dolphin, which possesses magical abilities allowing it to take on a human form, usually at night. In human form, the encantado is said to be very charming, with a tendency to seduce humans. These beings are often depicted as wearing hats to conceal the blowhole on top of their heads, a detail that distinguishes them from ordinary humans. Encounters with encantados frequently involve tales of mysterious disappearances or seductions. According to local legends, people who attend festivals or gatherings near the river might encounter a handsome stranger who dances exceptionally well and exudes an otherworldly charisma. After such encounters, there are reports of individuals vanishing or being found later with little memory of what happened, sometimes marked by unusual behavior or an inexplicable desire to return to the water. One notable story involves a young woman who disappeared during a village celebration, only to be found days later, disoriented and unable to recall where she had been. Her family believed she had been taken by an encantado. In another tale, fishermen reported seeing a dolphin transform into a man before diving back into the river, leaving behind footprints that led to the water's edge. The lore of the encantado is also linked to its ability to bring illness or misfortune to those who encounter it. Some legends warn against interacting with strangers who seem unusually captivating or out of place, as they might be encantados in disguise. This aspect of the folklore emphasizes the dual nature of the encantado, being both enchanting and potentially dangerous. Argentinian gnome. The Argentinian gnome is a cryptid reportedly primarily in the Salta province of Argentina. Known for its eerie and unsettling appearances, descriptions of this creature often depict it as a small, humanoid figure dressed in traditional gnome-like clothing, including a pointed hat. Unlike the friendly garden gnomes of folklore, the Argentinian gnome is usually associated with strange and unsettling encounters. Reports suggest that it moves quickly and can vanish without a trace, adding to the mystique surrounding it. One of the most well-known encounters occurred in 2008 when a group of teenagers claimed to have seen and recorded the creature on a cell phone in the city of General Güemes. The footage, although blurry, shows a small figure moving sideways in a peculiar manner, which the witnesses described as a gnome. This video quickly went viral, drawing attention from media outlets and cryptid enthusiasts worldwide. The teenagers reported that the gnome emitted a strange, high-pitched laugh that left them feeling deeply uneasy. Further reports from local residents describe encounters with the gnome in various settings, often at night or in the early morning hours. Witnesses have recounted seeing the small figure darting across roads, appearing in backyards, and even peering into windows. These sightings are frequently accompanied by feelings of fear and anxiety, as the gnome's presence is often perceived as a bad omen. Skeptics suggest that sightings could be explained by misidentifications of animals, pranks, or psychological phenomena. However, the consistency in the descriptions and the emotional impact on those who claim to have seen the Argentinian gnome keep the stories alive. In some instances, witnesses have noticed that the gnomes seem to possess an otherworldly quality, with glowing eyes and an unsettling aura. Flying humanoids. Flying humanoids are cryptids reported in various parts of the world, often described as human-like figures capable of flight. These stories typically involve creatures that resemble humans but possess wings or other means of airborne movement. Accounts of flying humanoids have emerged from diverse locations, including the United States, Mexico, and parts of Europe, each with its own unique variations and details. One of the most famous instances of flying humanoids is the Mothman, sighted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia during the 1960s. Witnesses describe a creature with a human-like body, large wings, and glowing red eyes. These sightings were often accompanied by reports of strange lights in the sky and other unexplained phenomena. The Mothman became a prominent figure in local folklore, especially after the collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1967, which some linked to the creature's presence. In Mexico, there have been numerous reports of flying humanoids, particularly in the state of Nuevo León. These sightings often describe a dark winged figure that can hover or fly at great speeds. In one notable encounter in 2006, a police officer in Monterrey reported seeing a humanoid figure with large wings flying near his patrol car. He described the creature as having an ominous presence and exhibiting an ability to move silently through the air. Other witnesses have also reported seeing similar figures in urban and rural areas, often describing them as menacing or otherworldly. Another intriguing report comes from the Black Forest region of Germany, where local legends speak of the Nachtseher, a type of vampire-like entity that is said to fly and terrorize villages. Though not as well documented as other flying humanoids, these stories contribute to the broader tapestry of airborne cryptids. Skeptics often attribute these sightings to misidentifications of known animals, such as large birds or bats, psychological phenomena, or hoaxes. However, the persistence of these reports and the consistency in descriptions across different cultures and time periods suggest a deeper cultural or psychological resonance. Tier 3. Snallygaster. The snallygaster is a cryptid originating from the American folklore, particularly in the rural regions of Maryland and West Virginia. Described as a dragon-like creature with figures resembling a bird and a reptile, the snallygaster is said to have a wingspan of up to 25 feet, a metallic beak lined with razor-sharp teeth, and tentacles protruding from its mouth. The creature's name is believed to derive from the German word Schnellergeist, meaning quick spirit, a nod to the area's early German settlers who incorporated their own mystical beliefs into local lore. Reports of the snallygaster date back to the 18th century, with early settlers describing encounters with the fearsome beast. According to these accounts, the snallygaster would swoop down from the sky to snatch livestock and occasionally even children, leaving behind a trail of destruction. One of the earliest documented sightings occurred in 1909, when a newspaper article detailed a farmer's terrifying encounter with the creature, which allegedly left claw marks on his barn and scared away his animals. Throughout the early 20th century, sightings of the snallygaster continued to be reported. In 1932, the creature gained national attention when a series of articles in the Middletown Valley Register described multiple encounters and attacks. These reports often featured the snallygaster's distinctive high-pitched screech and its ability to disappear without a trace, adding to the creature's mystique. One account from this period involved a group of hunters who claimed to have shot at the beast, only for it to emit an ear-splitting scream and vanish into the night sky. In addition to these encounters, the snallygaster has left its mark on local culture. The creature is often featured in festivals and local lore, with some businesses and events incorporating its image as a symbol of regional identity. Despite folkloric nature of the snallygaster, some cryptozoologists have speculated about its origin, proposing it could be based on misidentified sightings of large birds or other wildlife, combined with imaginative embellishments of frightened witnesses. Crawfordsville Monster. The Crawfordsville Monster is a cryptid reported in Crawfordsville, Indiana, in the late 19th century. The most famous sighting occurred on September 5, 1891, when two ice delivery men, Bill Gray and Marshall McIntyre, claimed to have seen a bizarre airborne creature while working at night. They described the creature as a large, amorphous entity with no discernible head or limbs, covered in a thin, white shroud-like skin. It was said to be about 20 feet long and 8 feet wide, with glowing red eyes and emitting a wheezing sound as it hovered through the air. The sighting sparked widespread interest and fear, leading to further reports from other residents of Crawfordsville. One notable encounter involved a group of local ministers who also claimed to have witnessed the creature, lending credibility to the phenomena. The ministers described the creature as moving in a serpentine manner, occasionally coiling and twisting in the air. Some reports mentioned the creature emitting a foul odor, adding to its unsettling presence. Newspapers of the time seized upon the story, spreading accounts of the Crawfordsville monster far and wide. These reports drew the attention of skeptics and researchers alike. Some suggested that the sightings were a case of mass hysteria or misidentifications of mundane phenomena. One theory posited that the creature was actually a flock of birds, such as killdeer, whose unusual flight patterns and reflections of the night sky could have created the illusion of a single monstrous entity. Despite various explanations, the Crawfordsville monster became a part of local folklore. The creature's mysterious nature and the vivid descriptions provided by witnesses ensured its place in the annals of cryptid lore. In the years following the initial sightings, reports of the monster dwindled, and it gradually faded from public consciousness. However, the story remains a fascinating example of how unexplained phenomena can capture the imagination and lead to enduring legends. Van Meter Visitor. The Van Meter Visitor is a cryptid reported in Van Meter, Iowa in 1903. Over the course of several nights in late September and early October, numerous residents of the small town claim to have encountered a strange winged creature. Descriptions of the creature are remarkably consistent. It was said to be a large, bat-like being with a horn on its head that emitted a bright, blinding light. Witnesses described it as having immense wings and a terrifying presence, capable of flying at great speeds. The first sighting was reported by U.G. Griffith, a local businessman who saw the creature perched on a building downtown. Startled by its blinding light and eerie appearance, he fired his gun at it, but the creature remained unfazed and flew away. The next night, Dr. Alcott, a respected physician in the community, had a similar encounter. He also fired at the creature, noting that bullets seemed to have no effect. Alcott described the visitor as making an unusual buzzing noise and moving in a way that was both swift and erratic. The creature continued to appear each night, causing widespread panic among the townspeople. One notable event occurred when a group of armed residents gathered to confront the creature. They followed it to an old abandoned coal mine on the outskirts of town. Here they witnessed the creature, accompanied by a smaller, similar entity, disappear into the mine. In an effort to contain the threat, the townspeople sealed the entrance to the mine, hoping to trap the creatures inside. Local newspaper covered the sightings extensively, adding to the public's fear and fascination. The articles included detailed testimonies from multiple credible witnesses, which lent a degree of authenticity to the reports. Despite the widespread attention, no physical evidence of the creature was ever found, and the sighting ceased after the mine was sealed. Conakry Monster. The Conakry Monster is a cryptid reported to inhabit the areas around Conakry, the capital city of Guinea. This creature is often described as a large reptilian beast with scales, sharp claws, and glowing eyes. Sightings have primarily occurred in the dense forests and mangroves surrounding the city, adding to the mystery and fear surrounding the Conakry Monster. One of the most detailed accounts comes from a fisherman who claimed to have encountered the creature while navigating a remote section of the Conakry coast. He described the monster as being around 15 feet long, with a crocodile-like body and an unsettling, almost humanoid face. The fisherman reported that the creature emerged from the water, emitted a terrifying roar, and then disappeared back into the mangroves, leaving him deeply shaken and reluctant to return to that part of the coast. Other reports from locals include sightings of large footprints in the mud, mysterious disappearances of livestock, and eerie roars echoing through the night. One particularly alarming story involves a group of young men who went hunting in the forest and claimed to have seen the monster. They described it as moving with surprising speed and agility despite its size, and they fled the scene, convinced they had narrowly escaped a deadly encounter. The Conakry Monster has become part of local folklore, with some residents believing it to be a guardian spirit of the forest or a manifestation of ancient local legends. Others speculate that it might be an undiscovered species or a misidentified known animal, such as a large monitor lizard or an unusually aggressive crocodile. The dense and largely unexplored nature of the surrounding wilderness adds to the enigma, providing ample hiding places for such a creature. Despite the fear it inspires, the conakry monster has also drawn the attention of cryptozoologists and adventure seekers. These individuals are eager to explore the forests of Guinea in hopes of uncovering the truth behind the reports. Some expeditions have been organized to search for physical evidence, such as tracks or remains, but so far none have yielded conclusive results. The creature's reputation is further fueled by stories of attacks and close encounters. In one account, a farmer reported that his goats were being preyed upon by an unknown beast. He described finding his animals with their throats slashed and strange claw-like marks around the area. Despite setting traps and staying up at night to catch the culprit, he never managed to capture the creature, which he believed to be the conakry monster. Grunch Road Monster. The Grunch Road Monster is a cryptid associated with the rural outskirts of New Orleans, Louisiana, particularly in the area around Grunch Road. Descriptions of this creature vary, but it is generally depicted as a humanoid with goat-like figures, including sharp horns, glowing eyes, and leathery skin. The Grunch Road Monster is said to be a product of dark folklore and local superstition, with stories dating back to the early days of the region's settlement. The origin of the Grunch Road Monster is tied to tales of the Grunch people, a group of deformed and reclusive individuals believed to live in the woods near Grunch Road. According to local legend, these people were the result of inbreeding and were shunned by society. Over time, they were said to have become more monstrous, engaging in dark rituals that led to the creation of the Grunch Road Monster. Another version of the story suggests that the creature is the offspring of a human and a demon, further adding to its terrifying reputation. Encounters with the Grunch Road Monster are often described as frightening and bizarre. One notable account involves a couple who were driving down Grunch Road when their car suddenly broke down. As they tried to fix the vehicle, they reported seeing a strange, goat-like figure watching them from the edge of the woods. The creature then approached, causing the couple to flee in terror. They later found claw marks on their cat and heard eerie noises in the night. In another incident, a group of teenagers decided to explore Grunch Road as a part of a dare. They reported hearing rustling in the bushes and seeing glowing eyes in the darkness. One of the teenagers claimed to have seen the creature up close, describing it as having a grotesque, twisted body and emitting a foul odor. The encounter ended with the group running back to their car, vowing never to return. Farmers in the area have also reported mysterious attacks on livestock, fighting their animals with unusual wounds and strange footprints nearby. These attacks are often attributed to the Grunch Road Monster, which is believed to prey on livestock and pets. The creature is also said to be responsible for unexplained disappearances of small animals and even children in some accounts. Tier 4. Michelin Men. The Michelin Men, also known as the Luton entities, are cryptids reported in Bedfordshire, England in 1964. These beings are described as humanoid figures with a striking resemblance to the Michelin tire mascot, Bibendum, characterized by their segmented, tire-like bodies and glowing eyes. The sighting that brought these creatures to attention occurred on a chilly October night when a young man named David Hargrave and his friends were exploring a field near Luton. Hargrave and his friends initially noticed unusual lights in the sky, which they believed might be UFOs. As they approached the source of lights, they encountered several tall, white figures with round, segmented bodies. The creatures stood about 7 feet tall, moved stiffly, and appeared to glide rather than walk. Their eyes emitted a bright, unsettling glow, and they seemed to communicate with each other through high-pitched mechanical sounds. The encounter left Hargrave and his friends terrified. They quickly fled the scene, later reporting their experience to local authorities and the media. Their story gained significant attention, with newspapers dubbing the creatures Michelin Men due to their resemblance to the well-known tire mascot. The press coverage sparked curiosity and fear in the local community, leading to further investigations. Investigators who visited the site found no physical evidence of the creatures, but noted unusual marks on the ground, suggesting something heavy through the area. Some speculated that the Michelin Men might be extraterrestrial beings, while others proposed they could be experimental robots or suits worn by aliens. Despite numerous theories, no definitive explanation was found. Further reports of similar beings emerged from different parts of England in the following years. These accounts shared common features, including the creature's segmented appearance, glowing eyes, and mechanical sounds. Witnesses often described feelings of intense fear and unease during their encounters, contributing to the mysterious aura surrounding the Michelin Men. Pascagoula Elephant Men. The Pascagoula Elephant Men are cryptids associated with an unusual incident that took place in Pascagoula, Mississippi in 1973. On the evening of October 11, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker, two local shipyard workers, were fishing off a pier on the Pascagoula River when they claimed to have experienced a close encounter with strange beings. According to their account, they saw a bluish light descending from the sky and then noticed three bizarre creatures approaching them. The creatures were described as being approximately 5 feet tall, with a humanoid shape but distinctive elephant-like features. They had gray, wrinkled skin, no visible eyes, and a slit-like mouth. Instead of ears, there were pointed structures on the sides of their heads, and their limbs ended in claw-like appendages. The most striking feature was the presence of what appeared to be a trunk-like appendage in place of a nose, contributing to their elephant-like appearance. Hickson and Parker reported that the creatures floated above the ground and moved in a mechanical manner, emitting a buzzing sound. The men claimed that they were paralyzed and levitated into the spacecraft by the creatures, where they underwent a brief examination. Hickson described being scanned by a large, eye-like device, while Parker reported being in a state of semi-consciousness during the experience. After about 20 minutes, the men found themselves back on the pier, and the craft departed as suddenly as it had appeared. Shaken and terrified, they immediately reported the incident to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Under interrogation, both men stuck to their story, even when questioned separately. Hickson later passed a lie detector test, which added to the credibility of their account. The incident attracted significant media attention and sparked widespread interest and debate. Some skeptics suggested that the encounter could have been a hoax or a hallucination brought on by stress or other factors. However, the consistent details in Hickson and Parker's testimonies and their apparent distress led many to believe they had indeed experienced something extraordinary. Domston Blobs. The Domston Blobs are a cryptid phenomenon reported in the coastal village of Domston, Sweden during the early 1950s. These mysterious entities were described as amorphous gelatinous blobs that appeared along the shoreline, baffling both locals and researchers. The blobs were initially discovered by fishermen and beachgoers who noticed unusual translucent masses washing up on the beach. These blobs varied in size, with some being as small as a few inches and others reaching several feet in diameter. Witnesses described the blobs as having a strange, semi-solid consistency similar to jellyfish, but with a more rubbery texture. They emitted a faint, phosphorescent glow at night, adding to their eerie appearance. Unlike typical marine life, the Domston blob showed no signs of internal structure or organs, which puzzled scientists and led to various theories about their origin. One of the first documented encounters occurred in 1952, when a local fisherman named Sven Johannesson discovered a large blob entangled in his fishing nets. Johansson described the blob as being difficult to handle due to its slippery surface and unusual weight. He brought the specimen to the attention of local authorities, who in turn contacted marine biologists to investigate. Despite extensive analysis, the biologists were unable to determine the blob's composition or origin, leading to speculation about their nature. Theories about Domston blobs range from biological explanations to more fantastical ideas. Some researchers suggest that the blobs could be a rare type of marine life or a previously unknown species of jellyfish. Others propose that might be a byproduct of industrial pollution or a natural phenomenon caused by environmental factors. A more outlandish theory posited that the blobs could be extraterrestrial in origin, perhaps remnants of a meteorite or biological material from space. Further complicating the mystery, the blobs seemed to disappear as quickly as they appeared. After several months of sporadic sightings, reports of the Domston blobs dwindled, and the phenomenon was largely forgotten. However, the mystery was briefly revived in the 1970s when similar blobs were reported in other coastal regions of Sweden. Though these instances were less frequent and lacked the same level of detail as the original Dom encounters. Alien Bigfoot. Alien Bigfoot is a cryptid that combines elements of both Bigfoot sightings and extraterrestrial encounters. Reports of this hybrid creature primarily come from the United States, especially in regions known for frequent Bigfoot sightings such as Pacific Northwest and the Midwest. Witnesses describe alien Bigfoot as a large, hairy biped, similar to the traditional Bigfoot, but with unusual features suggesting an extraterrestrial origin such as glowing eyes, unusual agility, and the presence of unidentified flying objects, UFOs, in the vicinity of sightings. One notable incident occurred in 1973 near Uniontown, Pennsylvania. A local farmer, George Kalashek, reported seeing a large, hairy creature standing next to a UFO in his field. The creature was described as over 7 feet tall with glowing green eyes and an otherworldly aura. Kalashek claimed that as he approached, the creature emitted a loud, piercing scream before both it and the UFO disappeared into the night. The sighting was investigated by local authorities and UFO researchers, who found unusual large footprints at the scene, but no other evidence. In another case from the same year, 2 teenagers in rural Missouri encountered a creature fitting the description of alien Bigfoot near their home. They reported seeing a bright light in the sky, which they initially thought was a plane. As the light descended, it became clear that it was a UFO. Shortly after, a large hairy figure with glowing eyes emerged from the nearby woods and approached their house. The teenagers described the creature as having a distinct, unearthly presence and noted that it moved with incredible speed and agility. The encounter ended when the creature retreated into the woods and the UFO ascended and disappeared. Theories about alien Bigfoot vary widely. Some researchers suggest that the creature could be an extraterrestrial entity that takes on a Bigfoot-like form to blend in with Earth's environment. Others propose that the traditional Bigfoot creature might possess some form of connection with extraterrestrial visitors, possibly through advanced intelligence or technology. Skeptics argue that these sightings are likely the result of hoaxes or misidentifications of known animals combined with the UFO sightings. In addition to these specific cases, numerous anecdotal reports link Bigfoot sightings with UFO activity. Witnesses often describe seeing strange lights in the sky before or after encountering a Bigfoot-like creature, suggesting a potential correlation between the two phenomena. Some researchers have compiled extensive databases of these sightings, highlighting patterns and common features in an attempt to understand the connection. Osso 1. Osso 1 is a cryptid reported in the remote regions of Papua New Guinea, particularly in the dense jungles near the Sepik River. Descriptions of Osso 1 are varied, but it is commonly depicted as a large, bipedal creature with features resembling both a human and an ape. Witnesses often describe it as standing between 6 and 8 feet tall, with long arms, a muscular build, and covered in dark, coarse hair. Its face is typically described as having a flat nose, prominent brow ridges, and deep-set eyes. The first documented sightings of Osso 1 date back to the early 20th century, when European explorers and missionaries began to penetrate the interior of Papua New Guinea. These early reports often came from the indigenous tribes, who spoke of a fearsome creature inhabiting the dense jungles and swamps. The tribespeople referred to it as Osso 1, a name that has since been adopted by cryptid researchers. One of the most detailed encounters occurred in the 1960s, when a team of anthropologists was conducting fieldwork in the region. According to their account, they were deep in the jungle when they heard strange, guttural sounds coming from the underbrush. As they investigated, they came face to face with a large, ape-like creature that stared at them for several moments before retreating into the forest. The anthropologists noticed the creature's powerful build and the intelligence evident in its eyes, suggesting it was more than just an ordinary animal. Further reports from local villagers include sightings of a creature raiding crops and stealing livestock. Farmers have found large human-like footprints near their fields, and some have claimed to see the creature from a distance, always describing it as moving quickly and silently through the dense foliage. One story tells of a hunter who encountered Osso 1 while tracking game. He described a tense standoff with the creature emitting low. Further reports from local villagers include sightings of the creature raiding crops and stealing livestock. Farmers have found large human-like footprints near their fields and have claimed to see the creature from a distance. One story tells of a hunter who encountered Osso 1 while tracking game. He described a tense standoff while the creature emitting low, threatening growls before disappearing into the jungle. Despite these numerous accounts, there is no physical evidence to confirm the existence of Osso 1. Researchers who have ventured into the region have found traces that could suggest the presence of a large, unknown primate, such as broken branches at significant heights and nests made from woven foliage. However, no definitive proof, such as bones or clear photographs, has been produced. Various theories attempt to explain the sightings of Osso 1. Some cryptozoologists propose that it could be a surviving population of a prehistoric hominid, similar to Gigantopithecus or a Yeti-like creature adapted to the jungles of Papua New Guinea. Others suggest it might be a misidentified species of ape or an unknown primate that has eluded scientific discovery due to the remoteness and inaccessibility of its habitat. Tier 5. Wallowa Lake Freshwater Crustaceans. Wallowa Lake in northeastern Oregon is home to reports of unusual freshwater crustaceans, which have intrigued locals and researchers alike. These crustaceans are described as larger than typical freshwater species, with some individuals reportedly reaching lengths of up to 2 feet. The sightings and discoveries have led to various theories about the origins and nature. The first notable reports of these oversea crustaceans date back to the late 19th century, when settlers and fishermen in the area began to notice unusually large creatures in the lake. The first notable reports of these oversized crustaceans date back to the late 19th century, when settlers and fishermen in the area began to notice unusually large creatures in the lake. They described these creatures as having a hard, segmented shell, long antennae, and multiple legs, similar to lobsters or large crayfish. These sightings were sporadic and often occurred at night, adding an element of mystery to the reports. One of the more detailed accounts came from a fisherman named John Reynolds in 1923. Reynolds claimed to have caught one of these large crustaceans while fishing near the lake's deeper regions. He described the creature as being nearly 2 feet long, with powerful pincers and a tough, spiny exoskeleton. Reynolds' catch attracted significant local attention, but the specimen was lost before it could be properly studied and documented. In the following decades, additional sightings and occasional captures were reported, though no definitive evidence was collected to confirm the existence of these oversized crustaceans. Local biologists and researchers speculated that the creature could be a previously undiscovered species of crayfish or freshwater adaptation of a marine species. Some suggested that the unique ecological conditions of Wallowa Lake, including its depth and isolated environment, might have contributed to the development of such large crustaceans. In the 1970s, a small-scale scientific expedition was conducted to investigate these reports further. Divers and researchers explored the deeper parts of Wallowa Lake, documenting various aquatic species but finding no conclusive evidence of the oversized crustaceans. However, they did note the presence of unusually large crayfish burrows and potential hiding spots, which fueled further speculation. Local folklore around Wallowa Lake has incorporated these crustaceans into broader tales of mysterious creatures and unexplained phenomena. Some residents believe that the crustaceans are ancient survivors from a time when the lake's ecosystem was vastly different. Others think they might be related to periodic changes in the lake's environment or water chemistry, which could spur growth anomalies in the native crayfish population. Mokel Mbembe. Mokel Mbembe is a cryptid reported to inhabit the remote regions of the Congo River Basin in Central Africa. Descriptions of this creature resemble a long-necked dinosaur, specifically akin to a sauropod, with a large body, long neck, and tail. The name Mokel Mbembe translates to one who stops the flow of rivers in the Lingala language, highlighting its reputed massive size and strength. Accounts of Mokel Mbembe date back to the early 20th century when Western explorers and missionaries began documenting local legends and sightings. Indigenous tribes such as Pygmies have long spoken of a large, water-dwelling animal that they occasionally encounter in the rivers and swamps. They describe it as herbivores, feeding on plants like the malombo and other river vegetation. According to their stories, the creature can be aggressive if approached, capable of overturning canoes and attacking humans if provoked. One of the earliest significant expeditions in the search of Mokel Mbembe was conducted in the early 1900s by German explorer Captain Ludwig Frere von Stein zu Losnitz. His reports described a creature fitting the description of a small sauropod, living in the swamps and waterways of the Congo Basin. Despite his detailed accounts, von Stein's findings were primarily based on local testimonies and lacked direct evidence. In the 1980s, cryptozoologist Roy Mackal led several expeditions to the Congo in an effort to find Mokel Mbembe. Although Mackal and his team did not capture the creature or obtain definitive proof of its existence, they collected numerous eyewitness accounts from local villages and even claimed to find possible footprints. Mackal's work, documented in his book, A Living Dinosaur, brought significant attention to Mokel Mbembe's phenomenon and spurred further interest in expeditions. Other notable expeditions include those led by American explorer William Gibbons, who made multiple trips to the Congo during the 1990s and 2000s. Gibbons also gathered numerous eyewitnesses eyewitness accounts and reported finding large, unidentifiable tracks near riverbanks, though he did not secure conclusive evidence. Theories about Mokel and Bebe's existence vary widely. Some cryptozoologists suggest that it could be a living dinosaur, a relic from the Mesozoic era that has somehow survived in the isolated environment of the Congo Basin. Others propose it might be a large, undiscovered species of reptile or amphibian. Skeptics argue that sightings could be misidentifications of known animals such as large crocodiles, hippos, or even groups of elephants swimming in the river. Elephant humanoid. The elephant humanoid is a cryptid reported in various parts of Africa, particularly in regions with dense forests and remote areas. Descriptions of this creature vary, but it is commonly depicted as having a humanoid body combined with elephant-like features, such as a trunk, large ears, and thick gray skin. Sightings of the elephant humanoid are rare and often from local villagers or hunters who venture deep into the wilderness. One of the earliest documented sightings occurred in the 1950s in the Congo Basin, where a group of villagers reported encountering a strange creature while collecting firewood. They described it as standing upright on two legs, with a muscular human-like torso but the head and facial features of an elephant, including a long trunk and tusks. The creature reportedly observed the villagers from a distance before retreating into the forest. In the 1970s, another notable encounter was reported by a French anthropologist conducting fieldwork in Gabon. According to his account, he and his team were exploring a remote area when they stumbled upon the elephant humanoid near a watering hole. The anthropologist described the creature as being around 7 feet tall with a mix of human and elephant characteristics. It appeared to be foraging and displaying both curiosity and wariness towards the humans. The team managed to take a few blurry photographs before the creature disappeared into the dense foliage. Further sightings have been sporadic and typically involve lone hunters or small groups traveling through isolated regions. In some instances, witnesses have reported hearing strange vocalizations resembling a mix of human speech and elephant trumpeting. These reports have led some researchers to speculate that the elephant humanoid might possess a form of primitive language or communication system. Theories about the origins of the elephant humanoid range from the creature being a previously undiscovered species of primate with convergent evolution traits to it being a rare genetic mutation within local elephant populations. Some cryptozoologists suggest it could be a relic of prehistoric times, a surviving member of a now extinct species that once roamed the African continent. Others believe that sightings may be the result of cultural folklore and misidentifications of known animals, particularly in low-light conditions or when viewed from a distance. Jaba Fofi. The Jaba Fofi, also known as the Congolese giant spider, is a cryptid reported to inhabit the dense rainforests of the Congo and other parts of Central Africa. Descriptions of the Jaba Fofi depict as a massive arachnid with a leg span of up to 6 feet, resembling a tarantula but significantly larger. This creature has been part of local folklore for generations, with numerous accounts from indigenous tribes and explorers. One of the earliest recorded sightings by Westerners occurred in the 1930s when British explorer R.K. Lloyd and his wife claimed to have encountered a giant spider while trekking through the Congo. They described a spider emerging from a dense thicket, its large size and hairy body causing immediate fear. According to their account, the spider constructed a large web between trees and moved with alarming speed. Local tribes such as the Baka people have their own stories and names for the creature, often describing it as aggressive and dangerous. The Jaba Fofi is said to create funnel-shaped burrows camouflaged with leaves and other forest debris, where it waits to ambush prey. These burrows are often near animal trails, suggesting the spider hunts various forest creatures, including birds, rodents, and even small mammals. In addition to these reports, several anecdotal sightings have been documented over the years. In the 1980s, a missionary named Jean Thomas reported an encounter with a giant spider in Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Thomas described seeing a large dark shape crossing the road ahead of him, and upon closer inspection, realized it was a spider of enormous size. He noticed the spider's distinctive behavior, including how it reared up defensively when approached. Theories about the Jaba Fofi's existence vary. Some cryptozoologists suggest it could be a surviving species of a prehistoric spider, while others propose it might be an unknown species of tarantula or a similar arachnid adapted to the unique environment of the Congo rainforest. Trunco. Trunco is a cryptid reported in the coastal waters of South Africa, specifically near the town of Margate. The creature gained its name from a 1924 sighting where witnesses described it as having a trunk-like appendage and a body covered in what appeared to be white fur or wool. The initial sighting occurred on October 25, 1924, when several people observed a large, strange creature engaged in a battle with two killer whales off the coast. Witnesses, including a man named Hugh Valence, reported seeing the creature lift itself out of the water using its tail, which resembled a lobster's. The creature was described as being approximately 47 feet long, with a trunk that resembled that of an elephant, leading to its name, Trunco. The fight between Trunco and the killer whales lasted for several hours, drawing the attention of many locals. After the confrontation, the creature was found washed up on the shore, apparently dead. Despite the interest it garnered, the carcass of Trunco was not examined by scientists and no physical samples were taken. Reports from the time suggested that the creature had no visible head and its trunk appeared to be an extension of its body. The skin was described as snow white and covered in fur, which was unusual for any known marine animal. In the years following the sighting, various theories have been proposed about Trunco's identity. Some cryptozoologists suggest that it could have been a globster, a term used to describe unidentified organic masses that wash ashore. These globsters are often decomposing remains of whales, sharks, or other large sea creatures, and their unusual appearance can lead to misidentifications. Other theories propose that Trunco might have been a misidentified species of whale or an unknown marine animal. The presence of fur or wool-like material has led some to speculate that it could have been a rare mutation or a yet undiscovered species adapted to the cold waters of the region. Tier 6. Tasselworm. The tasselworm is a cryptid reported in the alpine regions of Europe, particularly in Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. This creature is often described as having a serpentine or lizard-like body, measuring between 2 to 4 feet in length, with some accounts mentioning it to have 2 small front legs or being completely legless. The tasselworm's head is said to resemble that of a cat or a snake, and is reputed to emit a hissing or whistling sound. First recorded sighting of the tasselworm dates back to the 18th century, though local folklore suggests the stories of such a creature have been part of alpine culture for much longer. These early reports often came from farmers and herders who claimed to have encountered the creature while working in remote mountain areas. They described the tasselworm as being aggressive when approached, with some stories recounting attacks on livestock and even humans. One of the more detailed accounts comes from 1828, when a Swiss naturalist named J.J. Schuxer reported the discovery of a carcass resembling the tasselworm. The remains, which were found in a remote area of the Alps, were described as having a long, slender body with short, stubby legs and a cat-like head. Unfortunately, the carcass was lost before it could be properly studied and documented, leaving the account to rely on Schuxer's descriptions and sketches. In the 1930s, a Swiss photographer named Balkin claimed to have captured images of the tasselworm. The photographs, while intriguing, were blurry and did not provide conclusive evidence of the creature's existence. Nonetheless, these images sparked renewed interest and led to several expeditions into the Alps in search of the elusive cryptid. Despite numerous efforts, no definitive proof was found, but the anecdotal reports and eyewitness testimonies continued to emerge. Theories about the tasselworm's identity vary widely. Some cryptozoologists propose that it could be a surviving species of prehistoric reptile, possibly related to the amphibious or early reptiles that once inhabited the region. Others suggest that the tasselworm might be a misidentified common animal, such as a large species of a salamander or an unusually large snake. Baby's abyssal fishes. Baby's abyssal fishes are cryptids reported by American naturalist and marine biologist William Beebe during his deep-sea exploration in the early 1930s. Using a bathysphere, a spherical deep-sea submersible, Beebe and engineer Otis Barton made several pioneering dives off the coast of Bermuda, descending to depths previously unreachable. During these expeditions, Beebe's reported sightings of several strange and previously unknown deep-sea creatures that have since intrigued marine biologists and cryptozoologists. One of the most notable creatures Beebe described was the 3-starred anglerfish, which he reported seeing at a depth of around 2,100 feet. According to Beebe, this fish had 3 distinct luminous spots on its body, a feature not observed in known anglerfish species. He also described the 5-lined constellation fish, noted for its star-like pattern and bioluminescent properties. Another significant observation was the pallid sailfin, a large fish with an enormous translucent dorsal fin. Beebe's descriptions of these creatures were detailed, yet no specimens were captured or photographed during his dives. Leading to ongoing debate and skepticism, Beebe relied on his observational skills, making detailed sketches and notes about the appearance and behavior of these animals. He describes the deep-sea environment as teeming with life, much of it unlike anything known to science at the time. The scientific community had mixed reactions to Beebe's reports. While some colleagues respected his observational skills and the potential significance of his discoveries, others were skeptical due to lack of physical evidence. The technology of the time did not allow for the collection of samples or clear photographic documentation at such depths, leaving Beebe's accounts as the primary source of information. In the years following Beebe's dives, advancements in deep-sea exploration technology have allowed scientists to explore the depths of the ocean more thoroughly. While many new and bizarre species have been discovered, the specific creatures Beebe described have not been conclusively identified or matched with known species. This has led some to suggest that Beebe may have witnessed rare or transient deep-sea species that remain undocumented, or that his observations were influenced by the challenging conditions of deep-sea exploration. Dracovic. The Dracovic, also known as the Screamer, is a cryptid from South Slavic folklore, particularly prevalent in Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia. Descriptions of the Dracovic vary, but it is generally depicted as a terrifying creature with a high-pitched, eerie scream that echoes through the night. Its appearance is said to be a mix of various animals, often described as having a canine or bovine body with long, thin limbs and a grotesque, gaunt face. The Dracovic is traditionally believed to be the restless spirit of an unbaptized child or a child who died before birth. According to the folklore, these spirits cannot find peace and transform into these monstrous beings. The creature is often associated with death and misfortune, and its scream is considered an omen of impending doom or disaster. One of the first recorded accounts of the Dracovic comes from the early 20th century, when rural villagers reported hearing the creature's distinctive wail at night. These reports described the sound as a mixture of a child's cry and an animal's howl, creating an unsettling auditory experience. Some villagers claim to have seen the Dracovic near graveyards or abandoned areas, further reinforcing its connection to death and the afterlife. Encounters with the Dracovic often involve livestock, with reports of the creature attacking and killing sheep, goats, and other animals. Farmers have found their livestock mutilated with strange claw-like marks on their bodies, leading them to believe that the Dracovic was responsible. In some stories, the creature is also said to attack humans, especially children, either out of malice or a desire for revenge. In the 1990s, a series of alleged Dracovic sightings in rural Serbia garnered significant media attention. Residents of several villages reported hearing the creature's screams and finding mutilated animals. These reports led to widespread fear and prompted some villagers to avoid going out at night. Despite efforts to locate and capture the creature, no physical evidence was found, and the sightings eventually subsided. Theories about the Dracovic's existence range from it being a misidentified animal such as a stray dog or a wild boar, to it being a psychological phenomenon fueled by superstition and fear. Some researchers suggest that the sightings and sounds attributed to the Dracovic could be explained by natural phenomena such as the cries of certain nocturnal animals or the eerie acoustics of the mountainous regions where the creature is most commonly reported. Berg Kongi. The Berg Kongi, also known as the Mountain King, is a cryptid from Scandinavian folklore, particularly in Norway. The name Berg Kongi translates to King of the Mountain, reflecting the creature's association with mountainous and rocky terrains. Descriptions of the Berg Kongi vary, but it is generally depicted as a large, humanoid figure with a fearsome appearance, often characterized by a rough, stone-like skin, long hair, and a beard made of moss lichen. The Berg Kongi is traditionally believed to inhabit remote, mountainous areas where it guards its territory and treasures. According to folklore, the creature possesses immense strength and is capable of moving large boulders and creating rock slides. It is often said to be nocturnal, emerging from its rocky lair at night to roam the mountains. One of the earliest mentions of the Berg Kongi appears in medieval Norwegian sagas, where it is described as a formidable opponent encountered by heroes and adventurers. These tales often portray the Berg Kongi as a guardian of hidden wealth, such as gold and precious gems, which it fiercely protects from intruders. Encounters with the Berg Kongi are rare and usually involve travelers or hikers who venture too close to its domain. Witnesses describe the creature as towering over them, with glowing eyes, and instill fear and a deep, rumbling voice that echoes through the mountains. Some accounts tell of the Berg Kongi using its strength to create avalanches or rockfalls to drive away trespassers. In one well known from the 19th century, a group of miners in the Norwegian mountains reported encountering the bird congi while searching for a new vein of silver. According to their account, the creature appeared before them, warning them to leave the area immediately. When the miners ignored the warning, they experienced a series of misfortunes, including equipment failures and mysterious injuries, which they attributed to the bird congi's wrath. The bird congi is often associated with natural phenomena in mountainous regions. Sudden changes in weather, unexplained rockfalls, and eerie noises at night are frequently attributed to the creature's presence. Local villagers sometimes leave offerings of food and drink at the base of mountains to appease the bird congi and ensure safe passage through its territory. Despite its fearsome reputation, the bird congi is also sometimes depicted as a protector of nature, ensuring the mountains and their resources are respected and preserved. This dual nature as both guardian and threat reflects the complex relationship between humans and the rugged, untamed landscapes of Scandinavia. Modern interpretations of the bird congi have incorporated elements of environmentalism, portraying the creature as a symbol of the importance of conserving natural habitats. Baba Yaga. Baba Yaga is a prominent figure in Slavic folklore, known as a supernatural being who lives deep in the forest. She is typically depicted as an old, haggard woman with a frightening appearance. Baba Yaga is often described with a long, hooked nose, iron teeth, and unkempt hair, and she is said to live in a hut that stands on chicken legs, allowing it to move around. This hut is surrounded by a fence made of human bones, with skulls adorning the top, adding to her fearsome reputation. Baba Yaga's character is a complex and multifaceted. In many tales, she plays the role of a witch or ogress who can be both a villain and a helper. She is known to kidnap and eat children, but she can also offer guidance, wisdom, and magical assistance to those who seek her out and prove themselves worthy. This dual nature makes her a compelling and endearing figure in Slavic folklore. One of the most famous stories involving Baba Yaga is the tale of Vasilisa the Beautiful. In the story, Vasilisa, a young girl mistreated by her wicked stepmother and stepsisters, is sent to Baba Yaga's hut to fetch a light. With the help of a magical doll given to her by her late mother, Vasilisa completes the impossible task set by Baba Yaga. Impressed by the girl's hard work and purity, Baba Yaga allows her to take the light back home, which eventually leads to Vasilisa's triumph over her cruel family. Baba Yaga is often associated with nature and the wild, representing the untamed and unpredictable forces of the forest. Her hut, with its chicken legs, symbolizes her connection to both the earth and the mystical, as it can move and turn to face those who approach. Inside the hut, Baba Yaga is said to have control over various magical objects and potions, reflecting her deep knowledge of the supernatural. In some stories, Baba Yaga is accompanied by three riders known as the White Horseman, the Red Horseman, and the Black Horseman, who represent dawn, noon, and night, respectively. These figures highlight her connection to the natural cycles and her control over time and the elements. Despite her fearsome appearance and reputation, Baba Yaga's role in folklore is not purely malevolent. She is often a test for the protagonist, challenging them to prove their bravery, intelligence, and virtue. Those who can navigate her trials and earn her respect may receive invaluable help, while those who fail face dire consequences. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe, like, and leave a comment for what you guys would like to see next.